Here we go with our Maker's Mark barrel pick experience. We got lucky to be chosen by a member of ours now, Nate Roberts, who is the bourbon manager at Campbell Station Wine and Spirits here in Knoxville, Tennessee, and he asked us to join him and be a part of this experience. And I tell you what, it was a great experience. It was way more than just a regular old standard bourbon trail tour. Obviously, you can see from these pictures, we started out with a meal that they provided for us, and I only did the pictures because I did not think anybody would want to be videoed while they ate. But it was a cool lunch experience. They had all those Maker's Marks available. Of course, they didn't give us those for free, but we could get any pours of the first picture we had up there at any time. They gave us a free cocktail. I don't remember what it was called, but I do remember it was tasty. Obviously, they used Makers to make it. Then we had bread, which was awesome. A good corn chowder soup, which was awesome. They did beef Wellington for the entree and a nice fruit and whipped cream dessert. It was a great experience and a great lunch and a great way to start the day. So the next thing we're going to get into here is just a basic start of the tour. Now, guys, I didn't have 7 microphones for all the people that were involved, so I had the microphone hooked to the end of the camera, the phone. So it's not going to have the best audio at all times. I've adjusted it the best I can, so you might need to turn your volume up to hear it all. Basically, it's just a beginning tour of Maker's Mark, talking about where they source all their products and the process. That's basically all we're going to get into for the first little bit of this video, and the end will be the tasting and pairing and blending and everything that we do here with Makers. It's really interesting though, because it is different. This is an extremely different process than picking a barrel just based on looking at a barrel in a warehouse saying I want this one, try that one, and whatever. This is done with the Maker's 46 idea, with the staves and what staves should go in the barrel and how it is finished. So that is how it's done, and you'll see that at the end. So I appreciate you guys watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share, hit the bell, and enjoy the video. You'll hear from me in a little bit later. Thanks guys for watching. So before we jump into that, check out this public service announcement from Deck Night on the Rocks.
Hey YouTube watchers, if you're watching this channel, that means you like bourbon, or you like us, or you don't like us and you're watching. But whatever reasons why you're watching, there's a way you can keep watching.
Like, comment, hit the bell, subscribe, and share.
So whenever you guys hit the bell, that'll give you notifications for whenever we post a video. And the important thing that it does is let you know when we're doing a live stream. We typically do our live streams at the end of the month. We always give away bottles of bourbon. If you're looking for bottles, we try to give away some that's not always the easiest to get. You never know, but we always try to give something away at the end of the month. So hit that bell, make sure you get those notifications so you don't miss out on anything we're doing. Also, lastly is we got this little button down here that says join. You guys can join and be a member, be part of the Deck Night crew. There's multiple levels of membership that will give you different options and opportunities to participate with the channel. So go and check that out, see if it's something you'd be interested in. Join, be a member. We'd love to really use the help to get this channel growing. Make sure you share and comment. Share and comment are the most important things. Like, subscribe. We really appreciate all you guys. We hope to see you around again with your comments and in our live streams.
Join us on our live stream coming up soon.
Keep sipping. See you next time.
We'll send them up to the other field and all of our rams on the backside of the farm by our cattle. We have 1,100 acres here in total. About 300 to 400 acres of that is for grains. So, as I mentioned earlier, we can't grow all the grain we need for our distillery on the site. But what we can grow are different types of heirloom grains, testing those grains for flavor, seeing if they work in mash bill, seeing the big flavor differentiation, but also testing our soils as well, right? A big part of what we're doing here outside of making whiskey is practicing regenerative farming so that we can educate the local farmer as well about bringing nutrients back into our soil, eventually to make our grain better, which at the end of the day ultimately makes our whiskey better as well. So rather than tilling and spraying and all the stuff that we've done for the last 60 years in farming, we use natural livestock rotation across our grain fields to eat the overgrowth, naturally fertilize that way, regenifying that soil for farming. So our 2 major farm suppliers, our grain suppliers, their farm partners also use those same methods as well. So biggest thing is really just more education and also getting us back to flavor farming rather than yield farming, essentially. So yeah, I probably have I think we have about a couple hundred head of sheep now, and then we have about 20 head of live beef cattle. Well, that mash.
That's the best part.
Yeah. minute ago we talked about, the importance of water. Water is basically ingredient number one. When you talk about flavor, it really starts with grain. And so at Makers, we've always used the same 3 grains. Likewise, we've always only used one mash bill. 70% corn, 16% wheat, 14% malted barley. Okay? As I mentioned at lunch, 86% of that grain content you can drive in about an hour. All of our corn comes from one supplier, about a 60-mile radius of the distillery. All of our wheat comes from one supplier 5 miles down the road from Peterson Farms. The only grain that doesn't come from here is the barley. It just doesn't grow that well in this climate for distilling. So I actually source most of it from the upper Midwest, North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana. I'm sure a little bit of Canada as well. It's malted in Wisconsin and shipped here to us. So on a typical day, we're taking in 8 to 12 truckloads of grain every day. So you're looking at roughly 1,100 bushels grain total every day. 7 or 8 corn, a couple wheat, couple malted barley. Before we use any of that material, we test that grain thoroughly. So we're looking at light sensitivity, texture, moisture, taste, smell, mildew, mold, to make sure those grains are top quality. Just like a good restaurant, you get that food ordered every week, you want to check and make sure those ingredients are top quality to build out your menu. Well, same thing for our distillery. The better control we have on quality and consistency on our material on the front end, a lot easier it is to maintain that quality and consistency throughout the entire process. Okay? So once we do run our grains through those several different tests that we do, we then unload them into our bins. We'll eventually use that in the distillery. With every truck we take in, we also take a retain sample of each individual truckload to track the DNA of our whiskey mechanically from a DNA perspective, from still to individual fermenter to individual mash tub to specific truckload of grain that came in within at least a 30-day period. Okay? Other than that, typically what we bring in today, we will use tomorrow. We're using all that material in a 24 to 36 hour period. Once the grain goes in the still house, our operation is built around 2 philosophies. Number one, the taste vision. Okay? Everything we do, whether it be efficient or purposefully inefficient, is totally designed to create the front palate profile and limiting bitterness and harshness along the way. On top of that, we've always only made one bourbon. So we've actually designed to scale our process in a way to start really small, but by batching create that one. Say you go to Beam, Buffalo Trace, Headed Hill, MGP. So these distilleries make a lot of great bourbons. Okay, it's common. In each of these distilleries, a handful of their bourbons start with a couple mash bills, right? So, with one mash bill, based on how you're fermenting, you're distilling, you're barreling, you're aging, you're batching, you're bottling, you can make an infinite amount of whiskeys out of one mash bill, right? So they're kind of batching really big from the mash perspective, but bottling very small to create variety from a whiskey perspective. And Makers were the opposite. We used to all of our batches of mash really, really small, like 10,000 gallons apiece. But as we go through our process, we marry those concentrations together to create bigger baseline consistency. So, once we distill the whiskey, that distillate is going to marry with distillates from multiple fermenters, create a baseline distillate. Then it goes into barrels. Once the barrels age, we then marry the barrels, and we just create that consistency as we go. We're actually batching small but bottling big to make the same whiskey the same way every single time. I always kind of think of it kind of like this analogy, like everybody's been to a buffet before, right? So, when you cook for a buffet, you're cooking in bulk to make a lot of individual plates. Think of our process kind of the opposite. Imagine us making 100 individual plates and then marrying it all together to make one buffet. Basically how we make our whiskey. If that makes sense. Okay? Any questions before we head in?
So from here, we're about to go inside of the distillery where they do all the process of fermentation and distilling and all the things that it takes to make a good bourbon. Now, what we just saw was some of the grounds as we came in, as we were hearing where all the process materials and products come from. But one thing about Makers that I like to point out is it is one of the most beautiful distilleries, farms there is. It's got the combination of the industrial work that gets done, but they do it in an elegant fashion. And then they have the grounds, the farms, the buildings all match and look so good. It's a wonderful place to visit. And if you like Makers, if you don't like wheated bourbon, or if you think Makers is cheap, whatever you think, it's still a wonderful experience. You should go to this one. This is definitely a destination point. If you haven't had an opportunity to go to Maker's Mark, even though it is in the middle of nowhere and it is not right outside Louisville, it is beautiful and it is worth the trip. You should check it out. Take the time to see it. Like I said, this next portion is inside. It is extremely loud, so you need to adjust your volume to hear what's going on and what's being said as best you can.
That's a little bit different than what you'll see in most bourbon distilleries. Traditionally, you'll see a hammer mill. Okay? Now, hammer mills, they pulverize grain to really fine texture like flour. To do that, you're going to break down every starch, every protein, every tannin in that grain. There are stuff with that grain, including tannins, tannins are very bitter. Okay? So to keep that from out at the same time, use a roller that's more common in Scotch and Irish whiskey. We're basically using 6 adjustable rollers that grind, pack, and peel the grain to a very coarse texture. Okay? So you sample while we here. So notice in my hand how coarse that wheat is, right? Basically all you're seeing is the husk. The husk is what holds all the structural tannin or the structural bitterness of the grain. So by leaving that husk mostly intact, it's a lot harder to force those bitter tannins out in a low and slow mashing process. The husk is also too large for our yeast. Okay? So when we're mashing, we will phase all 3 grains in separately at different temperatures. Not only is that going to help us maximize the flavor profile, but it also is going to create a slow conversion from starch and fermentable sugar. Okay? We're using water from our lake loaded calcium. We use sour mash from our previous batches. To help with taste consistency, but most importantly, that sour mash is going to lower pH. It gives us a little bit more of an acidic environment that our yeast strain thrives in during fermentation. Okay? What's going on, Mike? So mash will cook low and slow 3 to 4 hours. Okay? When it's done cooking, not only will it smell and taste like cornbread batter, it will also have nearly 100% conversion from starch to sugar. So at that point, we'll chill that mash down to about bath water temperature, 80-ish degrees. Pump it next door to our fermenters where it ferments for 3 days. In order to ferment, you need 1 key ingredient. Mind what they guess what that is?
Yeast.
Yeast, right? Yeast is the bridge between sugar and alcohol. When you're making beer, wine, whiskey, pisco, tequila, mezcal, whatever your vice is, yeast is the bridge. Okay, so at Makers, in 1953, Bill and Marty Samuels brought one family proprietary jug yeast strain. You will never see bags and pallets of dried concentrated yeast being shipped in the distillery used by third parties. Reason being, we propagate our own yeast here on site, and we propagate it every single day on the same jugs on the second floor directly above. Check it out. Follow me.
10,000 gallons. Yeah, we didn't go up last time. So last time we did a tour with as a group, we didn't get to come up here. So this is something different from the group tour that you get and you pay for. This is what you get from doing a private barrel select. As you go up, it gets hotter. There's the still.
This is where all the action is here. Like I said, downstairs, in order to have bread, or beer, or wine, or anything else, you're going to have yeast. Now, Makers, but you won't see bags and pallets of yeast shipped here, or boxes of yeast like you buy at Kroger, Food Line, whatever, grocery stores. Reason being, we use a jug yeast strain, so our yeast strain is hydrated. Have you ever had a mom, an aunt, or grandma, an uncle that gave you a bread starter?
Yep.
In a Ziploc bag or a jar? Basically how we make our yeast, we probably get our yeast all along the same model. We start with our mother strain, we grow that into jugs. We pull little bits of the jugs to make larger batches over and over and over. Here's kind of the key concept of yeast. Yeast is a living organism, okay, just like we are. You feed it, you water it, you show it a good time, it'll replicate and do its thing. That is bare bones in a nutshell how you propagate yeast. Okay?
Look at that window. It's
We
100
saw all of
degrees
it.
outside and it's blowing in here, making this place feel
Right here.
cold. It's so hot in here.
That's it.
This is a sample. Okay? So the jugs, we produce those off of our mother strain every 5 to 6 weeks. We then pull little bits of the jugs to make larger batches over and over. You do quick math, 1 bucket makes 22 fermenters worth of yeast in 2 days. So we really scale and ramp this stuff up pretty quickly. but it's a very, very, very time, temperature, environment sensitive process because this is the one thing in this entire process you cannot replicate. Okay? Yeast or distillery ever blows over, you can rebuild a distillery. Right? You lose a warehouse, you can build more warehouses. You need more barrels, you get more barrels, right? You lose this, you lose makers forever. Okay? So, relatively simple. When we're propagating, we'll add our yeast to a machine called a donut. It's basically an insulated tank of an agitator. Donut means mother, so that's where we're going to start that stream. We're going to feed it cascade hops. Okay? Hopping your yeast isn't common across the entire brewing industry. It is prevalent. More common in beer, obviously, when you're pitching. But the hops do provide a lot of enzymes, which the yeast will feed on. On top of that, those cascade hops are really acidic. They actually act as an antiseptic that will protect our yeast from wild bacteria. Okay, so we'll grow that donut yeast for a day. We'll then start phasing that donut downstairs into larger tanks. We'll give it some of our wheat, we'll give it some of our malt, we'll give it some of our water from the lake to really grow that batch. Basically, not only are we just growing the yeast, we're also training that yeast on what it's going to be feeding on in our fermenters. Okay.
You keep some of that off-site just in the weird case that
So we do keep several cryo-frozen samples in vault labs around the world, just in case. And every so many years, we go back and check ourselves to make sure that what we're doing on site matches what those core vault lab samples say. Okay. So aside from just making the yeast is also a flavor contributor as well. Okay. Any of y'all remember the FAE wood finishing series from a couple years ago?
Yeah, I got 'em.
So FAE stands for fatty acid esters. Okay, your fruit notes, your fatty acid esters, your congeners, your esters. Those are things that are all produced in the process of fermentation because of yeast. So they're your fruit notes, they're softness, they're textures. So with that being said, yeast is also a flavor contributor. It's not just making it. Okay? I can take a smell of this if you want.
It smells like a good beer.
Yeah,
It smells like a great beer.
yeah, it
It
does.
smells like great beer. It smells like a good beer. Now we know what those.
Oh, yeah.
stand for.
Yeah.
So each one from the wood finishing series, like RC6,
They
SCA,
were either designed
FAE.
to do a specific thing, or they are abbreviations for something.
That's
So-
what I was wondering.
So
Okay.
BEP stands for barrel entry crew. PRT stands for barrel rotation. FAE was fatty acid esters. And then the SE4PR5 was its own.
That was a mouthful.
RC6 was the first one.
RC6 was the first one. So that one was designed to highlight fruit notes
Yeah.
and spice.
That's
You know,
my
you know.
favorite.
That was.
That's my favorite.
So, what you smell on this? You said it was a good beer, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
I agree.
You guys ever had Blue Moon before?
Yeah.
You can taste this side by side with a flat Blue Moon, and it's almost identical. So you think about Saison, Hefeweizen, Belgian style beer, orange peel, citrus, coriander, clove, salt, wheat notes. Those notes are super important in our whiskey because of our yeast. There are other whiskey brands out there that are known specific fruit notes in their whiskey. It's because of their yeast. That citrus, orange peel, toasty note, soft spices, all that comes from our yeast. Crazy.
I know he keeps
New
looking.
York, New York.
Yeah.
New York, New York.
Did I break it?
Come on through while you can eat there.
Yeah, he's like, hey,
Just
somebody
fresh
over
kills
the
me.
store. Yeah. He's like,
Yeah.
I got an alarm.
So Lane is one of our two yeast propagators. Him and Teresa, and they go all for yeast here every day. And one of them's always here.
The next step's down to the fermentation area. They have these 8, I believe, old cypress log fermentators that's been there for over 100 years. And then in the next room over, they have multiple more stainless steel ones. But this is the ones you see. This is the old ones. These are the interesting ones and the fun ones. So we're going to let our guy, Brian, give us the talk on it. Again, it is a little loud in here, not as bad as before, but it is, you may need to adjust your volume to hear the best you can with your setup. All right, enjoy. I love these old wood fermenters.
So this is our fermentation room. So in this room is the 8 original fermenters for the distillery. 12 feet deep, 12 feet wide made of all natural cypress. These fermenters have been here since 1889. So I can always say, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Okay? Once a mash is finished cooking, it will go from one mash tub to
1889.
one fermenter to a full 3-day fermentation. Okay? On the first day, we had yeast. Now, yeast does 3 things: heat, alcohol, carbon dioxide. So on the first day, once we got our yeast, it starts consuming sugar and oxygen. It starts producing a lot of CO2. What you see here. It's not boiling. You feel it. It's not very hot. Okay? The CO2 being produced by the yeast. That CO2 will push a lot of that coarse grain to the top of the mash, ultimately creating a cap insulating that. Okay? Now, likewise, as we progress through this process, we're converting sugar to alcohol. So we will pick up one more sour smells and flavors. So this one here, it's day 1. Take a little bit off of it. It smells like carbonated cornbread. Really sweet. Step over this one.
Smells like pee.
Put your nose in and breathe it out.
This is an early day 3. You can tell it's a lot warmer. Take a smell. Woo! Smells more like that Hefeweizen, right? So when this is totally done fermenting, it will look like this one.
Oh, I just want to eat it.
So this is a day 3. You'll notice the cap on this is really, really dry and stale. The yeast has basically worked itself in. Okay. The cap you see is about 8 inches thick. Underneath of that is our beer. It will smell sour, it will taste sour, it will be roughly 8 to 10% alcohol. So at this stage, it's basically ready to distill. We'll take an aerator that will go to the very bottom of the tank. The rising air stirs our grain back into the beer. Drain the tank, it goes to a well, and it will feed one of our stills from the distillery. Okay? Per fermenter, we're going to average about 25 to 30 barrels of alcohol. Okay? Now, these are not the only 8 fermenters that we have. We actually have 62 fermenters. The rest are down that hallway. They're made of stainless steel. There's no difference in process, flavor, or batch size between a stainless or flameless fermenter. Really, the only big difference in the two is maintenance and efficiency. Okay? These require a lot of TLC. Okay? They also hygienically are a little bit more inefficient because, for example, when you steam clean these, it takes about 2 hours to make sure you're totally sanitizing the tank, and the wood needs that moisture to swell and create a tight seal naturally. Stainless steel tanks, relatively efficient, right? Because you steam them for 45 minutes and they're good to go. Okay? Also require way less heat. So, the process doesn't change, flavor doesn't change whatsoever. But to supply our volume, most of our fermenters are stainless. These 8 are still a part of our everyday operation. Like this. Okay. On average, we're distilling about 21 to 24 of these a day. Yeah. Finally, once we're done with all this mash, we can't use it. We save about 10% of it for new batches for pH-specific flavors. We give a lot of it to local farmers away as wet slop to feed their cattle with in the wintertime. The rest of it will be dehydrated and make 2 byproducts. One is a protein-rich syrup that uses a protein supplement. It's called syrup. We'll make syrup balls out of it. The rest of it's called the cake. It's the thick stuff you see on top. That can be pelletized and used as feed. So every single bit of mash coming off the distillery, repurposed, recycled, 100% everything.
What's it used as?
Feed for livestock. Yeah. Cows love distillery mash. Love it. Yep. Any questions? Alright, let's go talk about distillation. We'll head back down to Randall here.
All right, from here we move back to the distilling, the pots where they distill from low wine to high wine and all that stuff. And this is also another part that is not in the normal tour. And it does get extremely loud in here again, so please adjust your volume based on your setup to hear it optimally. Again, thank you for watching.
The difference in beer and whiskey is you boil the beer, capture the vapor, and turn it into liquid. That's whiskey in a nutshell. Okay? So once we pump our beer over here, it's time to distill it, extract the alcohol content. Okay? For the first 50 years of our history, what you see up front with everything we ran, this is the entire still house. And as the industry grew in demand, we had to figure out how to make more whiskey. So what would have been most cost effective Add bigger equipment, increase your recipe, make more volume. The problem is flavor and consistency doesn't always scale up or down. So for the first time in 2002, second time about 7 years ago, we started to look for consistency, not necessarily volume, by building 2 more distilleries here on site. Okay? We'll let Mark in here real quick. A lot of people realize there's actually 3 distilleries here, right? Okay? They also don't realize all 3 distilleries are in the same building. If you look behind me, it looks like a mirror. It's actually just another identical set of still and tell tanks. And the very back is another identical set of still and tell tanks. It's not an optical illusion. We just built 2 more exact mechanical distilleries back to back to back. Okay?
Again, we're going to another part of the tour that you do not get on the regular tour. I thought it was a mirror. I feel like an idiot now. Yeah. Should have known though. Holy ass, it's hot in this one.
Kind of hot in these distilleries.
What you saw up front is the only operation we ran for 50 years. Everything back here is just an exact mechanical replica of what you see up front. So number 2 we had in 2002, number 3 we had about 7 or 8 years ago. Okay? So all 3 of our column stills, 1, 2, and 3, are identical. They're 5 stories tall. They're 100% copper column beer stills. Okay? And down the center of each copper column still is 16 perforated plates specifically designed to extract flavor in the whiskey.
All right, we're about to try the low wine right off the still, 130 proof.
Pull off number 2. Hang out here for just a second. Y'all can have a seat if you want.
What are you doing? Hot dog. What is the deal?
I never had a hate strong.
Yeah, they gotta make too many kids. Yeah.
All right. 120 proof low wine. Now, that'll be suffice when you taste this. Take your straw in, finger over the end, pull it out, take a taste.
Oh, I thought we were just going to.
Well, I mean, you want to make it for the tasting. So you take a taste, chew it around with a pound for 3 to 5 seconds, okay? Once you swallow the whiskey, exhale directly afterwards. The exhale's the key. A, it keeps you from coughing. It's also going to give you a nice full flavor finish, complementing nose and palate at the same time, okay? So this is first distillation, 120 proof low wine.
Dirt all over your boobs.
So I think you need a stronger magnet.
And I'm improvising right now.
How long until shutdown?
August.
I tried.
Chew it around, swallow it. The exhale's the key. The A is what keeps you from coughing because you're blowing out all that alcohol.
What do you think?
Yeah. So at 120 proof, you can tell it's really bready and viscous and chewy and heavy.
Tastes like beer.
Tastes a lot like beer notes, right?
Like a beer whiskey.
At this stage, though, because it's so heavy and viscous, it's not what we're looking for flavor. So to refine it, we distill it again. We'll take this low wine, we'll pump it downstairs into a pasta called the doubler. The doubler will fine-tune the taste. It will clean up some of that viscosity. And most importantly, it's going to brighten and sweeten all those fruit flavors and grain flavors forward on the tongue. That vapor can be from our second tell tank is our high wine. 130 proof.
Extremely hot here.
Beers. Sweet grain alcohol, almost ready to go to a beer. Okay? Let me grab some of that high wine and taste.
How was it?
How good? It's hot. It's really hot. I'm glad I went and got my beard taken in.
I want You leaned up onto the things, the cypress thing.
I'm a mess today.
You're not a mess.
My shirt broke, I'm wearing this. No shoes.
You get used to it. Yeah. Oh, you're a jacket.
I think this is what it's called in the process. Would this be the same as the white dog?
Breathe out.
I'm breathing.
What do you taste?
Butter.
Okay?
The corn. You know?
light, forward. Feel that tingle right on the front of your tongue?
Yeah.
It's the foundation, everything we do here makes rough palate, mouth watering, non-bitter. You get the citrus, you get the grain, you get the sweet, very forward. This is the foundation. Every drop of bourbon we make here is distilled. Now, as we're distilling these fermenters one after the other, we do that for testing purposes. The alcohol from those fermenters will back together in one cistern, thanks for consistency. So then you get a barrel. Now, legally, we can't barrel the whiskey any higher than 125 proof. We'll actually add water to this, and we bring the proof down to 110. We go in the barrel under that limit because it gives us more control of how we age our whiskey. Most importantly, water is the ultimate salt. It's going to help us retain some of those softer, lighter, rounder flavors in the barrel, keeping all that flavor forward on the tongue throughout the entire aging process of our whiskey. Every single drop of maple that has ever been made started right here.
When did they put in the extra stills?
2002 and 2018. Yeah.
And these went in the extra
Same time. Yep.
So the first two go with the first still. This one goes with that still. That's the process.
Same with the mash tub. Same with the added fermenters we've had. When you scale one piece, you have to scale everything with it.
And those tubs are 10,000 here.
About 10,000. Yeah. Roughly. In our batches, the weight, the grain weights are all measured on bushel weight, which can vary a little bit, but our batches on average, we got that at 10,000 gallons.
Awesome. All right.
A big empty.
Yep. Don't really see anything. All right.
I wish it was really more exciting, but it's not.
It's part of the process.
All right, from here we move into the label section of the Maker's Mark Distillery, and they make a big deal out of the fact that their stuff is hand-torn to this day from the original way they did it in the beginning, but it's really hand-torn with a little bit of help from technology. Now, technology is about 100 years old, but all they do is perforate labels and then make huge stacks out of them where they can just tear them very easily, and they're very uniform. It's not like you're tearing a piece of paper where they're all different. These are being torn by perforations that make them pretty much exactly the same. And on our way, there are some more of the beautiful grounds and a new bridge they built.
No, you need all you want to for the restaurant. Come back in there. Hey, man, I lost 12 pounds today.
Hi. Good. How are y'all? What up, Mark?
So, we often kind of joke around here that you buy your first bottle of Makers. You buy your first bottle because of Margie. You buy your second bottle because of Bill. For the main reason, he did everything inside the bottle. She did everything else. Bottle design, label, seal, name, wax tipping, the farm, how the property looks, all Margie's labels. So part of that design was having hand-torn labels. If you've ever tried to tear two pieces of paper the same way, it's nearly impossible. So we still hand tear every label that goes on a classic, a standard bottle of Makers here every day. It's upwards of 100,000 labels a day, or 130,000 labels a day. We just use a little technology to help us do that. So follow me, we'll show you the print shop.
I don't know who wants that job.
Wait, you got kids in here doing this?
Feels good in here.
Hello. We're here to see you tear.
Alright, so this, Bonded Warehouse A, oldest and smallest warehouse we have here at the distillery. So at full capacity, it only holds about 4,000 barrels. It's not very big. It is our oldest warehouse, full warehouse here on site. We do have 5 total here on property. Most of our warehouses are in Loretto, so if you came through town, you'd have seen we have 35 warehouses there in town. We have 5 on site. We have 2 at our new warehouse, or 5 at our new warehouse site in St. Mary's, and then we still lease 2 warehouses at the old family distillery. So in total, we have 47 warehouses. They are all traditional Rick style, so they're natural climate. They stay hot and dry up on the top floors like an attic, cool and damp downstairs like a cellar or basement. Okay. Step down here. I'll keep the gate here.
Running away. Sorry, I'm a dick.
Cool. So right now, among our 47 warehouses, they range anywhere from 4,000 up to 58,000 barrels of building. We have 1.3 million barrels of Maker's Mark bourbon aging at any given moment. Okay. In the state of Kentucky, with all the distilleries, you're looking at more than 12 million barrels. That's more than 3 times the amount of people there is in the state. So I always say if the apocalypse happens, we're going to have a really big party.
Yeah, you want
None
to
of this
know
stuff's
it?
going to go to waste. I'm okay with So, again, with all of our warehouses being natural climate, once the barrels are filled, they're shipped to here. The barrels themselves are produced by Independent State Company. It's Kentucky Cooperage, 10 miles down the road in Lebanon. We make all of our barrels out of American white oak. Those barrels they're making for us are also totally customized to our profile. Okay, obviously, when you're making anything out of wood, you got to have dry wood to do it. So, on a traditional barrel, typically they'll let the wood sit out in the yard for 2 to 4 months. Then they'll kiln dry that wood, get it to the perfect moisture percentage. Then they'll raise Dave Cooper the barrel. The lumber on Maker's Mark barrels sits outside on the yard for a year. What happens if you let wood sit out in the weather for a really, really long time? You had to take a guess. What's that?
So is the warp.
Warps, cracks, rots, turns gray, it's funky, right? It deteriorates, right? In that decay, a lot of great things happen for our whiskey. Number one, slowly drying that wood will naturally leach out bitter tannic acid, right? Tannins are great in a lot of things. They're not great in our bourbon because they're bitter. So that will ultimately limit how much bitterness we can pull back into the whiskey. On top of that, because that wood is basically rotting, the mold, the microflora, the oxidation, the expansion contraction is degrading the natural sugar. So the lignans and lactones, the honey, caramel, vanilla, coconut stuff we love in bourbon, we're breaking those sugars down. We draw them closer to the surface of the wood, making them much easier to access. Okay, so every single piece of wood.
Are there ever barrels that don't meet the taste profile that you
Yeah, if they're too young.
Oh, so you just, for the most part, there's no rejects.
We start pulling lot samples at 6 years, 1 month.
Okay.
And typically, if they're not ready,
They go back
they'll
on.
sit a little longer. If they're ready or approaching, they need to be done, we'll just go ahead and dump them. But 6 years, 1 month is kind of the floor. I would say on average between about 6 and 8 summers is the average age of our bourbon. But we batch everything, so even one batch could be a range as well. Okay? Excuse me. All right. Bung. Do I know what this is called?
Whiskey Thief.
So Whiskey Thief, just a big copper straw. Sit down in there just a second. So this barrel was filled on February 6th, 2017. So it's a little over 7 years old. Let's go swing through bottling real quick, and then we'll go for tasting.
Awesome.
Any
Sweet.
questions about aging, warehousing? All makes sense?
Can you do that cork trick again?
Yeah.
That was cool.
It was, and you popped it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I think you may have done this sometimes.
I'm just
Dude,
Stole it.
When they had me break the one at Jack Daniels, I was there for 10 minutes like that thing.
I mean, that one, honestly, we leave it kind of loose, so we're not in here for 40 minutes.
Yeah,
handling the
trying to
barrel,
get it open.
So you're saying that's a loose bung? Hole?
That was funny.
Loose bung hole. Oh, my glasses are all steamy. After playing with the loose bung hole, I got the steamy glasses.
Moving into the bottling section, they have these cool posters on the walls that was based on their own marketing schemes and plans. And we really liked this one. I thought it was cool. We liked the big heavy dunkers, so we thought the liberal one was cool. Now, I think this is a good example of modern day politics is when this stuff come out, we can make jokes and have fun with each other when it's the liberal or conservative side. And I think that's gone away. So I'd like to bring that back. So let's bring back the ability to laugh and joke with each other no matter who we think's a good leader or not.
Yeah.
So this is the
Waxers.
So as I mentioned, it's a lot of run 3,500 bottles an hour today. They're running pints, 3 cent bottles. Basically what happens is all of our bottles come in their shipper on the opposite end, it's empty and upside down. They flip the box over, bottles come out upright. They will be rinsed with our whiskey, making sure we're not going to change fruit or flavor with what we're bottling. With the filled, capped, labeled, it comes to the dipping station. So each one of these pots are fed by a wax warmer on the left side of the wall over there. That same dip, it will constantly heat that wax. Okay? Wax typically maintain between 250 to 275 degrees. Okay? Basically, they're going to take it in, tray the wax with a closed pack, give it a quick spin, set it straight down. Wax runs down the neck, fans cool off, goes into a box on the pallet out the box. The coolest thing about this process is nobody does the same job for the full 8-hour day. They actually rotate positions every 30 minutes. So if you're unloading, you eventually dip, you eventually load, you inspect, you palletizer. You actually do 80 different jobs twice a day. 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the afternoon, each process goes.
While Ryan was talking to us, the employees came back to start the line back up, and here is the bottles being washed with the maker's mark to clean them out, make sure there's no impurities in there, and that liquor gets put back into the system and reused. Also, this is where they're filling the bottles over here, and then they're moving into the section where they're getting the screws put, the tops put on, the corks, they're getting corked and labeled. They come out of this part of the line and they go into where they are hand dipped. But behind me on the walls where they had all those marketing posters, and I guess I dropped the ball on that and didn't get any of them. I know we have a picture coming up, but it's just one. So apologize to you guys about that. Also, I did a voiceover here because there really isn't anybody talking, and it is extremely loud in here, just like once they got this line going, it started becoming very noisy. Oh, here we go. There's some of them. Some of the Maker's Mark advertising posters from the past. And back to the line. There's the labels going on. Do the heavy dunking, or not heavy dunking. These guys are just doing the basic dunking. I know I couldn't work here and do the dunks because I would have big dunkers every time. They'd be running down to the damn countertop every time I did one. They'd probably fire me after 2 days of dunkings. Anyway, guys, this is a long part of the video here, so I'm going to go ahead and use this opportunity to say like, subscribe, comment, share, hit the bell. And if you haven't done that, after you've done that and you really like what we do and you want to see more of our stuff, join, become a member. Take the opportunity to get more content from us and see all the awesome. That is members only material that only our members get to see. Now, from here, we're moving on into the actual tasting portion of the day. This is the longest part of the video, and you'll see us going through the process of tasting and trying and figuring out what staves are the best staves to make the most perfect Maker's Mark bottle barrel for Campbell Station Wine and Spirits. And it is a process. It takes us a while to figure it out. We go through 5 different profiles before we finally decide on one. So stick around, check it out, see what we got going, and check out this process because it is definitely a very involved and fun process, and it's definitely different from any other process that is available and around at any other distillery, just based on the stave profiles and the way they did their Makers 46s, which is the way we did our tasting and our decision making for our picks. Now, this room that we're in is the tasting room, and you can see it from the cellar of the the standard tour of the Maker's Mark distillery. And this area here, it just has, I guess, a bottle from every store pick that's ever been done. So we will go up on this shelf and be on there also, which I guess they'll never get drank. They're just going to sit there forever and ever until the zombie apocalypse happens and someone breaks in and takes them. All right, guys, I hope you've enjoyed so far. Please stick around, check it out, and comment, share, like, all those wonderful things. Let us know what you think about this process, what we've done, and what you think about these bottles. And once these bottles come out, we're going to try our best to see what we can do to make sure that we can make these bottles available to all of our members first. And then if we have the ability to do it for anybody after that, we will do so. So please let us know if you're interested in a bottle once they are released. It should be around 9 weeks from now that they are available to us. All right, guys, enjoy the process.
But said.
I know you guys couldn't hear me when I was explaining my passion for party, but we work for the same company, He's Maker's Mark, and I work for all the brands, and I work in Tennessee, so I live in Nashville. And usually one of us will come down from Tennessee, you know, when we've got an important store account, just to make sure everything goes smoothly. Sometimes conversations come up in here like, you know, how do the allocations work, or can I get an extra barrel, or all those other things. When you guys are ready, you know, we'll do sampling on this, or really anything else that you want to do sampling for on the store. But what are your all's functions at the store, or do you guys work at
I do, I'm the spirits manager.
Okay, okay.
He's
What's
the
your name again?
Nate.
Nate? Okay. How about you guys? We just pick bottles.
Yeah.
We've done several things for like our local stores and stuff, so we've kind of been doing this for
That's awesome.
some time. So.
Okay. How about you guys?
Nate chose us to be special.
All
Yeah,
right.
I take people to different ones all the time.
No, that's awesome because it really helps, promote the barrels when they hit. So
And show them the process and everything. It's really cool.
yeah, that's great. All right, guys.
Hey.
I've done more difficult things for money. Showing up here and hanging out with y'all. Actually, I have 4 of these this week. I've got 2 stores tomorrow and 1 on Friday.
Tough life, man. Tough life.
All right. So, any questions about anything we've talked about so far? Tour perspective.
You're good. You're very nice.
At each station, a book and a pen is for you. These are for you to use today and also take home with you. So the first half of the book is basically all the information that we're going to cover and probably already covered some. It's a great resource to information. If you go home and you have a question or a friend has a question or a staff member has a question, that book is kind of the Bible of the program. It's got kind of all the answers to what we do here with private selection. And the other half of the book, starting on page 25, is the first note page, and everything we taste will follow page for page after that. So if you'd love to take notes, we have basically organized all the notes for you. If you don't like to take notes, the book and pen is still yours to take home. Okay? We always say in here, nobody has a better palate. Some people have better vocabulary. So if you need help describing the whiskey, you'll notice on the stave pages, once you turn past 25, there's a little list of words called a lexicon on the bottom right. Just a list of words you can use to describe the whiskey. They are solely there to help you. So you can circle them, you can draw lines through them, you can highlight them. They are just there to help you. At the end of the day, this process is totally subjective. If you love something, tell us why. If you hate something, tell me why. We're here to build your whiskey, not mine, Mark's, or anybody else's. Okay? So those are just there to help you. At the end of the day, we want you to give us your opinion. Everything that we're going to taste is at true cask strength, 110-ish proof. Okay? Likewise, your barrel will be bottled at true cask strength, so 110-ish proof. Everything we taste is in that same line. So always encourage you to taste that proof first. If you want to add a drop of water, I've got some water pitchers I can fill up for you. Feel free to do that as you wish. Just keep in mind the whiskey will be bottled at cask strength. Okay. Finally, when I'm tasting, I always prefer to let my whiskey sit out and open up for a few minutes. So if you're ready, go ahead and take your lenses off your glasses. So before we dive into the staves and everything else, let's kind of talk about where this barrel program comes from. Now, you guys have picked barrels other places before, right? What does a traditional barrel pick look like? How does that process work?
Sample bottles, bottles, tasting notes.
You ever done it at a distillery?
Yeah. I've done 3 away and 2 at distilleries, and this is 3rd.
Okay. So it's a pretty simple process, right? You go in a warehouse or you go in a room or a store, and you're going to taste 3 or 4 bottles of individual barrels. So they'll roll out 3 or 4 barrels and you'll taste when you pick them. Pretty simple process, right? You're picking those barrels based on how they're aged, where they're aged, how long they're aged, and then most importantly, what they taste like. At Makers, if I rolled out 7 or 8 barrels and we test tasted them, in theory, what would happen? It'd be the most boring tasting of the winter. So, not that we wouldn't have a good time, you're just not going to find a big variety because of how we make our distillate, how we age our barrels, how we rotate, and everything else. They're designed to be consistent. So, for 20 years, we can never justify a traditional barrel program. Okay? We built this process around the idea of being able to create your own perfect maker's mark within the whiskey we produce here every single day. It didn't start with private selection. If I want to take a guess where this idea started, trivia question for bonus points.
46.
Makers 46? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Bill Samuels Jr. You all ever met Bill Jr. before?
No.
He's a wild guy. He's a character. He's in his 80s, like 83. He still comes down here and gives tours and picks weeds and causes trouble, all that kind of stuff. His parents founded Makers. He ran this place and grew this distillery from a local farm, Kentucky distillery into a world-renowned brand for 40 years, from the early 70s till 2011. So Bill's a pretty big figure here at Makers, Bill Jr. is. So he goes through his 40-year career and he starts thinking, well, I've been here 4 decades. What's my legacy going to be? And Bill, again being a funny guy, he goes into the most
He said, you know, when Rob comes in, who's our current managing director, and he's Bill's son, he goes, when Rob comes in, he's going to take my name off all the bottles. It's almost like Bill Jr. never existed. That's exactly what he says. And, so, you know, he starts thinking about leaving his legacy here, and this was in the early 2000s, and, you know, your first initial thought of a new legacy is ultimately making a new whiskey, right? Now, we all could probably agree we could have made something really, really good. Didn't mean it was going to be makers. Okay, so Bill's intention with leaving his legacy was not to change his parents' bourbon. Okay, so he goes home and he makes up this wild and crazy story that he had a dream that he had died. And at his funeral, and his casket lowered in the ground, all it said on his tombstone is, "Here lies Bill Samuels Jr. He didn't mess it up." Now, when Bill tells the story, you get the more coarse one. But the irony of that story is two things. Number one, his dad gave him a piece of advice when he handed over the company. Probably guess what that was, right?
Don't mess it up. Don't rip it.
Secondly, his intention was not to reinvent the wheel, right? He just wanted to make his Maker's Mark bourbon yummy and Maker's on steroids. Now, what that meant, nobody knew, okay? So, you know, many conversations, many talks, kind of settle on, like, we're not changing the bourbon, we're not making something totally new, because it's not going to be Maker's. So Bill, being a smart guy, takes his idea to Independent Stave Company, people that make our barrels. They are experts at raising stave and cooper barrels. They're also experts at wood finishing techniques in the wine industry. Chips, cubes, powders, staves, cores. This alternative oak finishing technology has been popular in the American wine industry for the last couple of decades, not anything new. It really never been applied to bourbon to this context or this capacity before. So Bill takes his big sticky note over there, it's got literally just yummy written on it. It says, here's what I want, try all these tests, see what you can come up with, see if you can make it happen. They go through 128 different tests. They ultimately create one type of finishing stave of a certain type of oak, aged a certain way, cut a certain way, cooked a certain way, sits in our bourbon for 9 weeks in a cold climate, pushing all those yummy flavors forward. You want to take a guess what the name of that finishing stave was?
46.
46. Yep. So Bill basically got to make his own whiskey without ever actually changing the process of how we make our bourbon. All because of this one stave. Okay? The Maker's 46 stave is the bridge of innovation in Makers between what we did for 5 decades, only producing classic 90 proof Makers, and everything we've done since we launched 2010 in September of 2010. Okay? This is the bridge of innovation. Now, personally, the funny side of this story is that I think we can all agree again, we're pretty good at making whiskey. We're not necessarily always the best at naming things. Here we are, 14 years later, still explaining what 46 is. When you get the wood finishing series, it's even more complicated. Aside from that, this stave allowed us to push the boundaries of flavor in our bourbon without actually changing the consistency or process of how we make it and what we make. Okay? Big moment in our history. So, again, we launched 46 in September 2010. We actually proofed it a little higher, 94 proof, to give it that kind of bold finish to it. And we grew that brand for 2 years. Along the road, we kept getting the same question. When can we do single barrels? Okay? So after many conversations and many meetings over a couple of years, you know, we were kind of just stuck on, like, we can't just do regular barrels and Makers. It's not interesting. You know, they're all the same damn whiskey, right? One day Bill goes, the most fun I ever had here in 40 years is getting to make my own whiskey. Well, Rob, his son, our current managing director, him and quality innovation leadership here took the idea and ran with it. They said, you know, if the highlight of Bill's career in 40 years is getting to make his own whiskey, why can't our friends and family in the industry, bartenders, chefs, managers, buyers, owners, consumers, why can't they have the same opportunity? Okay? So we took the idea of a create your own stave program to ISC. The very first thing that they asked us is, what does the bourbon taste like? What's wrong with that question?
Subjective.
Subjective, right? Objectively, they send us 800 to 900 barrels a day. If there's anybody who knows what Makers taste like, it's those guys over there. Okay? But subjectively, we taste things differently, we smell things differently, we interpret things differently. They would have no idea where to even start if we couldn't subjectively tell them what we wanted to highlight. So where we're going to start today is the same place we started this program, except we're going to deconstruct the foundation of everything we do here on your palate. What you smell, what you taste, what you like, what you feel, how's it finish with the Maker's Mark cast strength whiskey. Okay? So the very first sample right in the middle of your board, we want the CS on it. That's a cast strength sample. It's a sample I pulled off of that barrel. I just want you to take a taste, take a smell of it, tell me what you think. You can write your notes down on page 25. Okay? do you taste? What do you smell? What do you feel?
I get some honey.
Okay. Honey.
That's very sweet. It's got good viscosity too.
Okay.
I'm not gonna say that taste.
Yeah, I'm gonna taste.
Go ahead. There's no wrong answer.
Oh, this is definitely the wrong answer.
What is it?
Strawberry.
No,
Strawberry.
not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
Definitely got some lighter fruit notes, sweeter fruit
Yes.
notes, for sure.
I smell my hand. It smells dirty.
I've got up in that, I believe in that soap dispenser is plain Jane scent-free soap, pretty sure. Trash can right to your left, right by the door. So what about texture? What about finish?
Like the finish is, it's not too sharp. You get the spice.
Okay.
Soft, you get kind of like those espresso tones.
Let me ask you this, when you say spice, is that texture and temperature or is it flavor?
I haven't tasted.
Okay, so more like clove, allspice, cinnamon,
Yeah.
brown sugar, that type of stuff, baking spices. Okay. Okay.
It's not too thick to go.
Yep.
It's not too ready to go.
Aggressive for that.
It's balanced.
It's a good pace. This ain't like blow out. It's a good pace. You can do some things to it.
Let me ask you this, where do you taste it?
Get mine mid palate.
Forward, mid, it doesn't sit back here in the throat. You'll get proof back here,
Right.
but all that flavor's full.
Yeah.
Okay? So what we just did, basically the same thing we did to create the program, except we had some of our top tasters here at the distillery, myself included. We sat down, we tasted through cast strength. We just wrote down everything we thought about. Every aroma, every flavor, every texture, every finish, subjective.
Too much for you?
Okay?
No.
We took all these notes and compiled them for flavor camps. They're on page 23 in your book. Okay? Sweet, bright, rich, toasted, and spicy. Everything that you just mentioned fits in one of those 5 camps somewhere on page 23. So we took these camps to the cooperage. We said, look, this is what our whiskey tastes like. Create some finishing staves that exaggerate, complement, access, express these 5 camps in as many ways as you can. Okay? They went to work, made a bunch of options. Now, some of those staves were great. Some of them were terrible. Okay? We narrowed it down to the top 8 staves that we thought tasted the best individually. Okay? What we found was that those 8 staves were the best staves individually. They made some of the best 8 whiskeys you ever tasted. The problem is, when you put them together, they made the worst bourbons you've ever tasted. Okay? So just because they tasted good didn't mean they worked well together. The 5 staves that we use, P2, Cuvée, 46, Mondial, Spice, don't think of these as picking from 5 whiskeys or 5 individual staves. To be honest, you may not like some of these at all. They're not designed that way. They're designed to be the 5 best staves that work together in a recipe. Okay? So your goal is to create a 10-stave combo. Those 5 staves are the ingredients. Okay? Like I always say, nobody loves a spoonful of cinnamon. Everybody loves cinnamon toast.
Yes.
So is this one going to be close to like the Mocha stage used to be, or?
Same kind of category.
Okay.
Same area.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
You were so dramatic.
You eat some water?
No, it's
He's just very dramatic when he does this.
I just have a hard time picking things out individually, you know.
Oh yeah.
I'll tell you one thing that I do recognize is that going through the process, you start picking up like that yeast and the bread, like other mash, like now tasting the cast strength. It's like, hey, that's what I've been tasting and not really being able to describe. So that's what I got from, especially on the nose. Like you really get that. And I don't know if it's just sensory from, hey, that's one of the last
Since you've
distinct
been doing
smells
that,
you had, but it seems like, you know, you're picking up something out of the nose on the palate that you hadn't picked up before, which I like that.
Say about like when we drink straight, when it comes back, okay, I got that.
So the 5 staves in front of you, the 5 glasses in front of you, they are what we call pure samples. Okay. So basically how we make it, we take a full barrel of cast strength whiskey and we put 10 of that one type of stave in it for 9 weeks in the cellar. So that's going to teach you the peak of what that stave will do to your recipe. Things you like, things you dislike. We'll talk about how they work together. So we get to the fun part later. We'll hit the ground running and work towards that perfect profile. Okay. As far as creating the staves, I always compare it to steak. Right? You guys like steak?
Oh yeah.
I can eat steak, potatoes, everything. Okay. So with steak, you can grill it, sear it, sous vide it, boil it, broil it, crock pot it, dry age it, smoke it, confit it, whatever. Right? Based on how you cut it, how you cook it, temperature and time, makes a big difference in what that steak will taste like, right? There's a big difference in a butterfly fillet cooked well done like leather versus a bone-in, pan-seared ribeye medium rare. Both beef, but it came from the same cow. Vastly different steaks. It is the exact same concept with the finishing stage we use in this program. So based on the type of wood they are, how they've been aged, how they've been cut, how they've been cooked, temperature and time, make a huge difference in what natural compounds they express in the whiskey. So some of these are American, some of them are French, they're baked, they're cut, they're seared differently. All those variables make a difference when we talk about flavor. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Clear as mud? Yeah. Any questions so far?
No, just back to the original 46. And it just goes to show you everybody gets something different.
Yep.
I like the mouthfeel. It had really good mouthfeel. But I only get charred smoke sweetness and spicy on the end. Like I don't get any of the other stuff. I get stuff on the nose.
Yep.
I don't get it on the palate.
So like the cask strength versus when we taste it. Yep. Yep.
So this 46 is actually the 46 that you get off the shelf every day.
No.
Oh, okay.
Well,
46.
We'll talk about it when we get there.
Okay.
Okay. It is 46, yes, but not exactly what you're going to get if you go to Kroger and buy a bottle of 46. It's a little bit different.
So I guess the idea behind this is, imagine you picked 10 0 0 0 0 0.
Yep.
0 10 0 0 0. 0 0 10 0 0.
That's what those samples.
That's what these samples represent. Okay.
Yours, what you're going to make, like you've seen on private selection bottles you bought, 4 3 2 1, 3 3 3 1 0, sum of 10.
Right.
Make sense?
Yes.
Need a little more?
Can I please?
See how.
Okay. So if you're ready, let's talk about the first one.
Yeah.
The first one is the Baked American Pure 2 stave. This is the only American White Oak stave we use in the program. Why do you think the Baked American Pure 2 is the only American White Oak stave if you have to take a guess?
Because your barrels are American White Oak.
Yeah, we've already aged the whiskey in American White Oak for like 6 to 8 years. So the goal of this stave is to highlight those same lignin, lactone, American White Oak compounds we've gotten from the aging process. However, you'll notice the stave is not charred. The wood has been aged for a year like barrel lumber, but then it's baked in a convection oven. So swirling indirect heat, moderate to low temperature, 18 to 24 hours. Okay, I'll pass the stave around. Take a taste, take a smell of the whiskey sample. Tell me what's different about it. And again, the only difference in that P2 sample and the cask strength sample are 10 pieces of wood for 9 weeks.
It smells a lot sweeter.
Okay?
It smells light.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't got there yet. Still working on this.
Light, sweet.
I'm trying to get my taste. I need that.
Oh yeah. Definitely lighter, sweeter, cookier.
I'm still working on my taste from the original one.
Yeah, way more fruits on that one.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell the cask strength just came out of the barrel.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can tell there's a distinct difference in that, in this, and that.
So they lightly toasted it.
They bake it.
Baked.
It's different, yeah.
Baked fruit like.
So that's like exactly what you would stick in the barrel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, except it's 28 inches long.
Yeah.
It's a component.
So, I guess I'm going to ask, to me, what sounds like a silly question. I smelled it when it came by.
Mm-hmm.
Is that ridiculous to smell it?
What was that?
Is it ridiculous for me to smell that wood?
I mean, these don't have a ton of smell left to them just because they get passed around so much. But I mean, the staves next door, you can smell them. We'll go over there later inside your barrel. You can go and smell them, and they smell like they've been cooked. They smell like toasted marshmallows. At least the P2 does anyway.
They probably got a bunch of hand stink on them.
I don't like that.
Yeah, these have been
finish
passed
on this
around for a while.
one. I don't like that. I love the floral in
The
the
front end
beginning,
is
in the
very
front,
good.
but then when you get it down, it's
Has a bitter finish.
It's kind of
not-
astringent and hot
Yeah.
and bitter,
That's a
right?
good word.
So this stave It's funny, I have a lot of Japanese accounts that compare the steak to ginger root and wasabi. You think about how crisp and sweet fresh sliced ginger is, but then also the flashiness and heat of wasabi paste, wasabi root. Like this can have a lot of that like boozy, flashy, nasally heat to it. Likewise, it's floral and light and forward and crisp.
I like that component.
So, if you like green apple peel and pear and lemongrass and sweetgrass and oak and honeysuckle, great steak. Because of those characteristics, it's known to be really light and really forward. It's not known for texture and finish. So if you love a big, bright, sweet, forward patio sipper, go big on it. It's not very dominant. Most people, we see a lot of people often use this steak complementary, sort of like salt and sugar. Just use a little bit here and there to lighten and brighten other things.
Yes.
Okay?
I see this one giving you a bourbon a really good aroma.
Yeah, so this one, freshly poured, is going to give you more like honeysuckle, lemon zest, that type of stuff. The most popular characteristic about this steak, though, is when it sets and oxidizes for 20 minutes, it smells like maple syrup. So if you love pancakes, come back to this stave in 10 minutes and it will smell totally different than it does now.
Really?
Yep. Even if your glass is empty, your glass will smell like maple syrup.
I think that's really interesting when you drink one and you get some kind of smell, then you drink another bourbon and you come back to it and it's got a whole nother smell to it. Like go back to your other glass.
If you're a wine drinker, this would be like a really, really light Moscato.
Okay.
I don't like it.
Yeah, that's fine.
I mean, it tastes like it's very artificial.
Yeah, it is very simplistic. It's not complex. It's there and it's gone. So it also has an astringency to it.
I can definitely see
it's not supposed to be the star of the show.
I can see a place for it though.
Yeah,
it's complimentary, but not the star.
A few of our barrels, like right now, we're running summer profiles in the gift shop, and so we want to bring like bright floral, sweet fruit stuff. So those profiles have quite a bit of this one in it. But again, the more that you use, the brighter, sweeter, shorter it's going to be, versus things that are dark, rich, heavy. You may have to big on this.
Yeah, the finish is lovely.
Go back to this.
So P2, only American oak stave. Everything else is French oak. So what's the difference? American oak for this industry is classically sourced, traditionally sourced from about 20 states, all along the same latitude. Okay. So these trees grow very close together, very tall, very straight, on the sides of hills to compete for sunlight. Okay. A fully matured American white oak tree that's selectively harvested is typically only about 12 to 16 inches in diameter. So about this big here. How old do you think this tree is, just based on how wide it is, if you had to take a guess?
Less than 10 years. 10, 12 years.
10, 12 years maybe? 20 maybe tops? How about 100?
Yeah, I was going to jump.
Okay.
It's dense wood.
Exactly.
So it's going to have a lot more.
It has the rains, right? You see the variability in the climate. Hot, dry, cool, damp, over and over and over throughout its life cycle. You can see that in the ring structure. It makes the wood watertight. It also makes it really rich in lignans and lactones. Honeys, caramels, vanillas, coconut notes, all the stuff we love in bourbon. So 80 to 120 years, kind of perfect range for American white oak for the bourbon industry. Okay? French oak, very different. Comes from the northeastern region of France, the Vosges forests. Very cool, very damp, very mineral climate. And these trees grow for twice as long, 200 to 250 years. Okay? So, I believe I get anything here. American, French. What do you notice the difference?
Grain is a lot. The ribs are smaller, but it's got more dense.
Really fine, tight grain. Now you said this is more dense, right? It's about tighter. Hold them side by side.
Next to it.
Which one's heavier?
What's this page is for?
It's an illusion.
Way lighter. Look at that.
Tighter, finer grain tells you it's more dense, but it's actually the opposite.
Okay.
American oak is ring porous. Hard barrier, soft barrier, hard barrier, soft barrier. French oak is grain porous, meaning that grain is packed so close together, making that wood less dense. Okay? So the French oak, because it is less dense, it's 8 times more tannic than American white oak. Okay? So it's often used for Burgundy barrels. Think Pinots, Cabs, Merlots, dense dark red wines. Okay? It also doesn't have very high concentrations of lactones, which are kind of like your toasted coconut vanilla bean notes. So French oak is primarily known more for its tannic nature and also for its heavy concentrations of lignin and vanillin, which are a lot of your textural sweets. Okay? So for this program, because we don't like tannins, when they harvest that wood in France after 200 to 250 years, it is seasoned naturally out in the weather for 2 to 2.5 years, leaching that tannin as much as possible. They then cut it and cook it different ways to highlight unique notes that, quite honestly, we don't get from America. Okay? Those other 4 staves, Cuvée, 46, Mondial Spice, all the same type of French oak. The only difference is how they've been cut, how they've been cooked. Okay? The first one is the Cuvée stave. Anybody good at math in here?
Yeah, pretty good.
Okay? So, what can you tell me about that stave? What's different about it?
The grooves just got deep ridges.
What do you think those grooves are?
I would think allow the bourbon to travel across, pull the flavors out.
Yeah, so you're getting 22% more surface area, more exposure, wood to whiskey. Okay?
So it's what Jack Daniels does with their Sinatra barrels.
Okay.
What if I told you it's not cut that way for that reason, though?
Heat.
How's it? Yeah, how's
Well,
it cooked?
What do you notice about the color of it?
Dark.
It's definitely darker than P2, right?
Yeah. But is it all darker?
No, the grooves are lighter.
It's two-tone. This steak is seared in an infrared. Okay? So, you all have Penn Station down in Knoxville?
Mm-hmm.
So, you go to Penn Station, they cook your sandwich on that little conveyor toaster oven. Same way that steak is cooked. Except that oven is 30 feet long. Okay? That toaster searing oven is going to sear those peaks and valleys differently, creating a blend of flavor. Okay? Cuvée is the French term for blend. Okay? Take a taste of Cuvée, see what you think. I mean, if you want to, go ahead and knock yourself out.
Ooh, I like this one.
Oh, yeah.
The nose is a lot more pleasant than the P2.
Okay? Why?
I don't know.
Okay.
It just doesn't burn my nose as much.
Okay. It's not as astringent or hot.
Yeah, it's real bright. Aggressive. I like the word aggressive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Aggressive is perfectly fine.
I think that one dissipates faster.
It's more ethanol forward. I feel like the nose is, and I don't know if that's just because it's like I get kind of that bright citrusy kind of.
For sure. More the yeast note on this. For sure.
That's it.
Yeah, that one disappeared faster for me off the
I
palate.
haven't
More
tasted
front
it.
palate.
I try to nose it.
God, I wish I could get something out of it. What do you get on that? Nose.
On the nose.
Wait, so that for me was really good.
I've already screwed that up, so I took a sip.
What do you think? That's how that mixes together.
You're not gonna like it. That's gotta burn.
Let me ask you this. Is it hotter than P2 or does it just stay longer?
I think it's hotter and it's staying longer.
Okay. So a little bit bigger profile. More spices, toastier.
It's not at all
Bigger.
sweet
Yeah, way
though.
sharper.
You notice how this one like blankets the whole palate?
Yes.
It's on the roof of your mouth, it's on your teeth, it's on your palate, it's kind of everywhere, right? This steak is all texture. So in light of the citrus notes you get from the yeast, the breadiness and viscosity, the fact that it doesn't have a lot of ups and downs like P2,
No.
it's kind of that same rounded all the way across the palate, and it's really dense.
It's nose chokes.
This is the texture steak. So from a flavor perspective, if P2 is green apple peel, pear, vanilla bean, think of this steak like salt and caramel molasses. It's
Okay.
dense, smoky, toasty, roasty, chewy, thick, viscous, bready, doughy.
That
It's
connects to me, yeah.
all texture. Okay? So if you love this steak, go big on it. It'll give you banana nut bread and black walnuts all day long. Coincidentally, because of all of its characteristics, it is the most dominant steak in the program. So
I
if you
would
love
think
it, go big.
So you say dominant mean the most used or the most dominant as in it will overpower?
overpower.
It can overpower things.
I
So-
can see that.
Okay, yeah.
So these go a long way. Now I would say, once you get above 4 is where it really kind of starts taking over. Otherwise, it's a really popular steak in this program if you love that buttery texture, because it will give you that, okay? Now, again, if you love it, go big, just know that it can push things around. If you're not a big fan, think of this steak like a ribeye steak. What separates the ribeye steak from the other cuts?
Fat.
Fat, cat, the tail, the marble. right? You can use one or two of these, like the marble, to your barrel. It will round off sharp edges. It will also give weight to everything else around it without totally dominating the profile. It's a very good state for texture and density, whether you use one of them or both.
So this is more like the viscosity that's going to have be given to your.
Think of this state like adding butter to the pan.
Yeah, it's a lot better. I like the finish.
You do like the finish?
I like that.
It's it's a dominant flavor. Like it's a dominant flavor, but it's not a like I think once we get through these, it will be a lot easier to see how everything goes together. Like right now, you've got this one that was kind of absent, like it's kind of bright and accent. This feels more like a body.
You literally tasted the base, the lightest state, and the heaviest state back to back to back.
Yeah.
So you will, and you're also seeing a big change between American oak and French oak.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, again, these are designed to be more of your lighter, brighter profiles. So again, if you love that banana nut bread, like sticky bread, like brown sugar, cinnamon type stuff, love Cuvée. If you want more of your light fruits, your cantaloupe, strawberries, your honeysuckle, your that kind of stuff, P2 is great. Kind of start getting to the others, we're going to start seeing how much different that whiskey's going to give from a different perspective. Okay, Cuvée, big thing to know about it is texture. So if you want a lot of texture, you want to be bready and toasted citrus and all that stuff go big. If you want one or two, it will just kind of give weight to everything else around.
When you say texture, is this like the mouthfeel texture? Like, so I want, me personally, I like one that hangs out. It's kind of greasy.
Yeah, you'll like that steak.
Greasy?
Cuvée is what it does.
It just stays. You
It feels thick and
I think
viscous.
the important thing is like to realize what we're doing. It's like it's not like we're saying, okay, this is good and this is bad. It's like how much of this do I want?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Are there things that I like about this steak?
Because it's not like you're picking one of the five and saying, hey, I got to go with this one.
Again, like I said earlier,
like what pieces of this do I like?
I always use this analogy. Nobody loves a spoonful of cinnamon, but everybody loves cinnamon toast. It's a good way about thinking about these as ingredients, not individual whiskeys. Okay?
Okay.
Now, the next one, again, you've probably heard of. But to answer your question earlier, outside this room, we typically talk about Maker's 46, the whiskey. Bill Samuels Jr.'s Yummy, Maker's on Steroids, 46. In here, we talk about the stave that makes that whiskey, the 46 stave. Okay? So this stave, French oak, just like the Cuvée, it's actually almost identical to Cuvée. The only difference is it has less surface area than the Cuvée, and it's actually seared for a handful of minutes longer than Cuvée. So think of this like medium well, Cuvée would be medium rare, okay, with less surface area. What you're tasting is a single barrel of Maker's 46 at cask strength. Okay, so just one barrel cask strength, 10 of these pieces of wood. So it's not incredibly different to what you would find out in 46 cask strength. The difference is what you would buy as a batch, where what you're tasting here is one barrel.
I'm making it taste toasty. I don't want to taste toasty. Well, the crackers are making it taste toasty.
We do crack that in water and then go away. Yeah, that goes right.
Turn this one up.
What do you think of 46?
It smells great.
Okay. What do you like about it?
It smells great.
Okay.
I think it's simple.
Okay.
It's got burn.
Simple in the fact that it doesn't have complexity, or simple in the fact that it's feels familiar. Or both.
Now I gotta rethink. It might be that familiar.
I'd say all of my expectations of the ones we've had so far, this is more not what I was expecting from 46, because I drink 46 all the time.
Yep.
And so,
you know what I get from this?
This as a cash drink is completely different than the 46.
Have you had 46 cash strength before?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, it's basically what you're tasting, is just a single barrel.
I get a classic, I don't know how to say it. When I was a kid, and I'm sure it was made differently 30 years ago, it reminds me of a syrupy soda.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, so, yeah, I got you. So more of that like rich sweets, like black cherry, raisin, fig, cola, like that type of stuff.
Like a real Dr. Pepper made with real sugar,
Yep.
not the fake sugar
Yep.
stuff, you know?
Like a Mexican Coke?
Yes.
Yep.
The best damn Cokes ever made.
Yep. So thicker, rich, right? Really rich, really sweet, a little bit more of those denser sweets. So again, that raisin, fig, black cherry type sweetness.
Yeah.
To your Dr. Pepper comment, soft spices like baking spices, tobacco, clove, right?
Besides proof, did you say there's a flavor profile difference between this and the 46 on the shelves? Or
No, same profile, same state. The difference is this is one barrel.
Finish that one.
What you would buy at the store is batch. That's the only difference. Like that one. Do you think it sits on the board where it does for a particular reason?
I was going to say
it's really balanced.
That it's probably the closest thing to what you're going to buy off the shelf. Like, out of all three of these, it has the most balance.
It's the most complete whiskey.
It's the most balanced. Like, I feel like the nose, you got a lot from the nose. You started getting a lot from on the palate. You know, you had mid palate, rear palate, the finish. And because I like the 46 cask, which is my favorite, we were talking about this even before we came. I was like, hey man, add some more 46 cask, so it was crazy. And that to me is, I know this one was dominant, but like to me, this feels like the foundation of the house.
Perfect
and
example.
You build around the foundation of the house.
So first of all, to your first point, this is the only stave that was actually designed to be its own whiskey. So naturally, it always has completeness. It's a great foundation stave, right? It's a great stave for balance. So if you love raisins, black cherries, and figs, and cola notes, and chocolate, and baking spices, and cloves, and tobacco, and pepper, and all those things, it already has all that completeness built in. So think of this stave kind of like the center of the teeter-totter, right? If you love that rich sweet side, put some Cuvée and P2 with it, and it will lean it towards that black cherry, raisin, fig, cola stuff, right? If you like the other end, the roasty, toasty, spicy, whatever stuff, add the other side with it and will lean in that direction. It's a really good stave for foundation. It will always give you good whiskey.
So is this the most used across?
Actually, quite the opposite.
Okay.
Even though this stave probably tastes the best on its own, it is probably the least most popular stave in this program. For the main reason, 46 is already popular, right? So we see a lot of people say, oh, well, I don't want to do another 46. And that's totally okay opinion to have. What I will say, it is the only stave that will never be retired from this program because it works well with everything. It is a really good stave to use in your beverage. Now, if you're not a big fan, we often see the stave used as a complementary. As foundational as it is, it's a great stave for balance. So if you need just like a little bit of heat, or a little bit of sweet, or a little bit of body, or just something that ties everything together, 146 or 246s can do that. It's a really good stave for balance, whether you use a bunch of it or you use one or two of it. But you certainly don't have to use it. Okay?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the next one. So earlier, and a couple times today, you all have asked me about mocha stuff. Okay? Now, have any of you ever tasted mocha by itself?
No.
Okay.
So, I mean, mocha, what is mocha itself, on its own? It's a coffee bean?
To me, it's a mix of coffee bean and chocolate when it comes to the flavor.
It's soft, too.
Okay, so we're going to do just a little quick test sample of mocha.
I bet by itself.
So you can kind of see the difference here.
Yeah, by itself is probably good.
Meaning we've got a little bit extra time.
That's cool. As you said before, I wouldn't go out and eat a bag of rub
Yeah. So as I kind of mentioned at lunch, mocha was statistically our most popular stave, but it was actually as far away from makers as you could get without it not being makers. Okay? So the mocha stave was a French oak stave, baked, really high temperature, really long time.
That's what I like.
Take a taste of mocha, tell me what's wrong with it.
What's wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's weak.
Weak, soft.
It's like a watered down.
Yeah, there's nothing to it.
It's, notice how like funky and back down
Yeah.
it is? It's all back here.
Yeah, it's all, there's nothing
There's
going
nothing
on.
in the
It's-
front.
It's got a little bit of a bitterness to it.
Yep.
There's zero front flavor at all.
It needs friends.
Yeah.
Where does
Needs
it
friends.
Well, where does it finish?
This is. I'll be honest with y'all. This is where I completely disagree with everyone. I completely disagree with y'all. This has to me, this has by far the sweetest notes, as far as a sweet smell that you can actually get. And then on the palate going in, it's pure sweetness. Now, flavor wise, it's not overwhelming at all. But just mouthfeel and nose, this is the best thing I've had so far.
So this thing was designed, to your point, to be dry and dusty and chalky and provide that long back palate complement that you can't get in makers classically, but it still finishes forward. So that's where the sweetness comes in. Think of this stave. So not all flavors are tangible. Sometimes flavors are expressions or experiences. So think about the difference in black coffee versus roasted coffee beans.
Yeah.
Night and day different things.
Yeah.
Okay. So this stave had essences of sweet on the finish, but had a very bitter flavor. So we used that stave for 5 years. We built almost everything with it. We finally decided, okay, this stave is statistically really popular. We see 1 or 2 in every barrel, but from a flavor perspective, it's not. We don't get a lot of flavor out of it. So let's make a new stave that can totally innovate the program. Not to be better or worse than mocha, but a new interpretation of that Cantillon whiskey that's more flavor dominant. So we created the Mondial stave. Okay? This stave is a French oak stave. It is baked identically to B2. Convection cooked, low temperature, long time. Now again, the goal was not to be better or worse than mocha. We really just wanted to be kind of opposite into the spectrum of that camp. Take a taste, take a smell of Mondial. Tell me what's different about it compared to
Ooh, I like
the
this.
mocha.
No. You don't? That's because you're the only one that drank the whole thing.
Oh, I need more because I'm trying to get more flavors out of it. It's taking so much to get my mouth acclimated to tasting more than fire.
Why do you have a mocha laying around? Just found some.
Nah, we usually keep some on hand just for things like this. Sometimes we have accounts that will want to taste in a little barrel they did forever ago. So we'll pull it out and mix up a sample.
This one's subtle. So it's not.
There's no burn at all.
There's no punch you in the face, come back on, and it's kind of just.
Yeah. It's dark. It's rich, dessert-like.
Here's one that I get a lot in bourbon, and I'm weird, I'm different. I get like a Play-Doh-y smell.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Do you get that on this steak? The Mondial?
Yeah, the Play-Doh.
Okay.
Yeah, it's got the kind
Yeah,
of
I see what
doughy.
you're saying. Yeah.
You know what's weird about this one is let it sit for a minute. After you've already drank it, you've already gotten it, and it's coming back at me. It's gone, and all of a sudden, the heat
Its
just-
taste is way better than its nose.
Mm-hmm.
And there is very little activity going on when you first drink it, so. But I see what you're saying, as I breathe in and out, I can feel the heat kind of rising up.
This steak is really roasty, so it really crescendos. Like it's really soft and it's sweet and it's chewy and it's dark and it has some acidity to it. It's got some fruit, it's got some chocolates, all these things. Then as it sets, it's kind of warmer and warmer and
does.
warmer and warmer, and it rides off in the sunset. So this state is really interesting because again, Mocha was designed to be really complementary.
You're on low battery.
This state is the second most dominant state of the program. It is dark, rich, roasty, chewy, chocolatey, fruity, nutty. Got a lot of things. Great whiskey, doesn't teach you that. Okay?
Right.
Finally, and most importantly, there are 1,000. I highly doubt.
I need an overnight thing.
Yeah, highly doubt we'll get to all 1,001 a day. In fact, by the time you get to 4, your palate is already burnt out, right?
Yeah.
Right.
You've already had a cocktail, you had high wine, low wine in the distillery, you had a full cask strength tasting in here. By the time you get real far, your palate's going to be burnt out. So we always recommend, as a group, starting with the goal and working backwards. Right? We kind of pull the group, kind of figure out what we like, what we dislike, who's buying this, what our goal is. We try and hammer that goal on the first one. We then can whittle it down state by state and get the perfect profile. Moral of the story, it's a whole lot easier to start over on number 2 than it is on number 8, because by then you can't taste it.
Yeah.
Okay? So with that being said, does anybody have any ideas?
I don't want to do something with 2 of the 46 days.
And again,
No, I don't want to overpower it. I think that 2 is good.
as a reminder, the Mocha state is not in play.
Yeah.
The math ain't mathing. It's very rummy and like rye whiskey. Like grassy, like really grassy rye whiskey. Like the spice state can do that.
But man, I'll tell you what the problem is. The problem is 46 already so goddamn good.
Yeah.
It's hard to it's almost like if you go too far away from the 46, you're kicking you're damaging the foundation of the freaking house.
Not necessarily.
I also think you can't go too heavy on the 46.
Right, I got mine.
I was thinking the same thing. You can't go too
So what are you thinking?
That's why I was thinking like 2 for the 46.
Yeah,
I wouldn't do more than 3, but 2.
Okay.
that's what I'm saying.
I feel
want
like I have to
like
use
the
it.
bottom.
Even though you say you don't,
Yeah.
I want to use
Sure.
it.
So his idea was 1-1-1-3-4.
Okay.
So 1 P2, 1 Cuvée, 1 46, 3 Mondials, and 4 spices.
That Madians will put in
We
some
are
more
way
chocolate.
before that.
I don't think you and I, Marcus, are on the same world.
No, we're
After
not.
listening to you talk,
We're nowhere near each
you and I
other.
can sit down at night and we can talk about a bourbon, enjoy it, and enjoy
Oh, we
our
can definitely
evening,
enjoy it.
and then talk
Palates
about why
can be- yeah.
you
So,
don't like what I do.
Let me task you with this. Don't think about this as staves. Describe what you want in characteristics.
So I'm thinking I want something that's like and I'm going to use other brands.
Yep.
A Peerless Double Oaked, a 1910, something
more
like
like
that.
chocolate.
So let me ask you
You
this.
want
What
QB.
flavors?
You want
So
QB.
let me ask you this. How would you describe one of those
I want a
whiskeys?
sweet, dark. I want that sucker to be like friggin' molasses.
Okay.
I want that sweet, syrupy, just viscous, something like that. I don't give a crap for florals or any of that
Why?
stuff.
Yeah, and see, and just going off of what you say, I think by far to me, and this is just where people differ, and everybody has different palates. This is by far the most floral one we had. To me.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you're heavy there, so that's why I was
Well,
like,
at first I didn't want to use it, but when he
Yeah.
said the way that it reacts as a lower
and what I was trying to
stage-
do is not let him sway anything
Oh,
that
I
I think.
mean, I agree with that,
Yeah.
but I gotta.
Yeah, and I just wanted to go strictly by my palate.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm going by. Like I'm going by just what I taste and what I get from it.
Yep.
And it's just like everything you described between the Midi and the Mocha, I think the Midi could make a possibly better bourbon than the Mocha. I think the Mocha is a better flavor for a bourbon. And
Okay.
we're putting a flavor into a bourbon, which is what we're doing here. We're
So I
combining
mentioned
flavor.
earlier with the Mocha, had it probably been named something else,
Yeah.
would have been totally different in this program. But to that point, right, the Mocha wasn't necessarily known for that flavor, but the finish.
It's the finish. It's the
really
finish,
really
yes.
popular.
It's the
And
finish.
so how we see that
Yeah.
is in the program, we saw 1 or 2 Mochas in every barrel.
Yeah, and if it was called bitter tea, people would be like, oh,
Yep.
I don't know about
So
that.
we saw 1 or 2 Mochas in every barrel. Mondial, we see like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 0.
See, that's where I was.
So it's more popular in volume, where Mocha was more popular statistically.
With what I threw together here, what would you just assume?
So that one's going to be kind of like
gross, or
it's going to have some acidity to it. So think like dark, like dried apricots.
Yeah.
With espresso and cocoa. Your P2, your Cuvée, and your 46 are just going to be there to kind of sweeten and texturize those three things. But you're going to get more with that one of that ripe red fruit, dried apricot front palate with a little bit more of a slightly sweet cocoa finish. So baker's chocolate. If that makes sense.
I like a dark and
Nobody wants a
I may not like that either.
Yeah. In terms of that.
What else? Anybody else?
I thought, just me personally, and I probably had 20 of these bottles. I thought the closest thing to me, where you were getting that chocolate undertone note, was out of that Series QB. Now, I might be in the minority here, but between the 46 and the QV, I got the most of the chocolate, the soft mouthfeel out of QV than I did out of even the Mondial. I feel like the Mondial's a compliment, the spice is a compliment, this was a compliment, but these two, to me, did the most work. And I thought those two did the most work. This one, the Mondial, for me, was, I guess, maybe the most complimentary. Like, this to me was like, if you're trying to do something for your nose, you're trying to do something for the nose and kind of get
By the way, has anybody go back and smell P2?
I have the American out.
Say it again.
Go back and smell P2.
I wasn't gonna go. It was a one. It was a one for me, just to get all five of them in there. But it was a one.
Along with what he's saying is, and that's where I see the Mondial as a different low. But I don't see it low. But I see it as more of a binder.
Yeah.
I see it as a binder. Yeah. And that's why I got 1, 3, 2, 4. And
1, 3, 2, 4, 0. Okay.
See now.
And see, my only other option was 1, 2, 1, 5, 1. And I see it because we're either going to go heavy on the Monday or we're going to stay mid.
Okay.
And I just see it as being a great binder. And this is, you know, I've had, and this is no exaggeration, it's probably 50 to 80 of these bottles.
Okay.
And I've had stages that I was like, damn, that profile was really good. I had profiles like, who came up with this?
Yeah.
And like right now, seeing the difference in them, especially sitting here seeing the difference in the Mocha and the Mondial, I could see it being more of something that could tie these together.
Yep.
Better than
so
this that I loved before. I see that being able to be a better tie than the Mocha that I used to love.
Okay. We're pretty close on the, what you just read off was pretty close.
1, 2, 1, 5, 1.
No, I had 0, 3, 2, 4, 1.
Okay. I had 0 on. This is totally out.
So I changed mine after thinking, talking, and looking at my notes, and I went from 1, 1, 3, 4 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 0. Because the SP at the end, I want either it to be a sweet flavor or nothing. If it's going to have any attack of spice or heat,
so I actually like that, because you mentioned like that kind of dusty hint of bitterness, like cocoa note. Having the 1P2 in there with the 4 Mondials is a nice play because it pulls some tannins.
I think the P2 to me nose wise is just great.
Let me ask you this: how much heat do you want? Do you want this to feel like a cask strength whiskey, or do you want to drink lower than cask strength?
I like higher strength whiskeys, but I'm not going to be selling it here. So
it's going to be 110 either way. I mean, honestly, compared to a lot of other things out there, even the hottest stuff we produce in here may not match some of your high rise stuff, or I know some of the Peerless stuff can be really hot, the Willett stuff can be really hot. Obviously, you get some Booker stuff like 128, not going to be that kind of hot.
Yeah.
But think about what kind of feel you want on the palate. Do you want it to be peppery? Do you want it to be warm? Do you want it to be soft? Do you want it to be dry? Like those things are all in play. So when you think, just kind of pointing this out here, and in light of your first one that you mentioned, bringing out that tobacco leaf, like sweet tobacco leaf, tea leaf, cocoa powder, some of that like really soft molasses stuff, and bitterness without having the sharpness on the back end, we start there and maybe we see how hot we can go. Because without that spice stave in there, it's going to tell you, okay, we need more. One spice stave will give you more. Or if we put the spice stave in there and we say it's too hot, we know it's going to be too hot. So, I would, however, do this. Go to 5 Mondials and 2 P2s, a cuvee, 2 46s and 5 Mondials. So 2, 1, 2, 5.
There it is.
Is that another one you wrote down?
21250.
So your cuvee and your Mondial and your cuvee, your 46 and your Mond is going to give you that molasses smoke type sweetness.
Yeah.
Okay. Your 46 and your Mondial, that's what gives you more of that 80-20 baker's chocolate. So it's slightly sweetened, but it sits back in the palate, long crescendo finish. The P2 is there for a little bit of sweetness on the nose, but those 2 P2s are also going to bring out some of the tannins and the wood of the 46 and the Mondial as well. The 1 cuvee is really just there to kind of bind everything together.
And listen, this all comes down to you. So it's you get, so if you like 46 is your thing and you like it, you got to go with it.
Yeah. Well, I think.
But we can try that.
Yeah,
right?
I think that what Marcus has come up with, and you obviously, I think that's my opinion. Doesn't mean shit. I think that's a good one to go with.
Yeah. And this is really only about 1 stave off of your second one, 2 staves maybe.
Yeah.
Pretty close to his stuff. Really close to his to some extent. And here, using this 5th Mondial as your heat rather than your spice, will kind of give us a good idea. If we say, okay, it doesn't have enough ash to it, we'll decide to spice stave there and see what it does.
Okay.
Okay? So let's try this and see what it's going to do.
Sounds good.
In your books on page 40 are note pages for profiles. Okay? So we always ask you to keep track of these for a couple of reasons. Number one, keep track on all of them. But also, say in the future, you got another barrel and you couldn't make the trip, you could always lay down a second favorite. You just go through Mark or Madeline or Ryan Megan. It's pretty easy.
Compare right here.
Yeah.
If I had to load it up, I'd load it up here and I'd do one.
I really like this one, but this is the SP. But I think to use what it takes to make this be what I want it to be, because this is 10 stages. It's taken away from the other stuff, so I would agree getting rid of it completely to do something else.
You got to go heavier.
Least favorite of all of them.
I think we need to see what this one is, and then that kind of we got a base to say, okay, we got 2 of these, 2 like 1, 2, and then 5. And then we can say, okay, hey man, the money.
The 21250 is basically what we came up with.
That's what we had to start with. Yeah.
Well, I think that's like you said, it's a baseline. We go from there, like we need to add this, take this away.
We always say that the one that you pick in here is not the most important combination that you do. It's actually the first one, because that's where you learn the most. It's really hard to kind of put things together in your head just by tasting the ingredients until you actually taste how they work together. So that's why I typically tell people, tell me what you want in characteristics. I can figure out the staves, because sometimes they act completely opposite of how you think they do.
So, a full confession, when we walked in here, so we had actually waited in line one day to get some bourbon at McScrooge's. So about 4 o'clock in the morning, we're standing there, we're the only 2 people in line. I'm like, hey Marcus, I got a bottle of Makers in my car. You want to open it up? I said, yeah man, it's 5 o'clock in the morning, it's getting ready to rain. I mean, nothing else better to do, might as well drink some bourbon. We drank a combination, and like he said, your combination that you got then would not be like the combination you got now. But it was a 3, 2, 1, it was 4 of the mochas, and it was 0 of the toasted French fries. And I literally took a picture of it just because I was like, this is the best bottle of Makers I've had. Out of every one of them I've had, it was the best one. But coming here, I think your idea of what you think it's going to be versus what it actually tastes like
Very different.
is completely different.
Yep.
So this is the 2-1 or
21250.
Okay, 21250. Okay.
Yeah, remember we were talking about playing that as a lottery number last
Yeah,
year?
I told you I was gonna play the lottery.
Yeah, 21250.
The nose is really expensive.
Yeah. It's a little aggressive on the nose.
It is
Smoky. It's like that.
on the nose.
You get that.
But
like,
I wonder if that's from the, which one did we say this was the most aggressive on the nose?
you get some of that kind of like
slow.
You get some of that like seasoned wood, like dried wood smokiness on
That's
the
what
nose.
Smoky
that's what it
is the
smells
word.
like. It's the E.H. Taylor seasoned wood. If you ever smelled the nose on, that's exactly what this is. The E.H. Taylor seasoned wood.
I've never had that one.
That nose, because it jumps. Like that's what it does. It jumps at you. But then, like to me on the palate, it's not very good. But it blows your way opening the bottle up, and then the finish is like, why is it so expensive?
Very
But
dry.
is it dry? I'm still on the nose.
I wish it was more viscous.
Okay.
Isn't that what the Mondion's supposed to give it, the viscous?
To an extent, in a different way than
It just
Cuvée.
doesn't, it doesn't coat my tongue. It just kind of,
That is actually one
He's loving it.
spice from being good.
Okay. So it needs some more heat to it.
It's
No.
I think it's a spice from being. I think that's gonna make
You
that
need
finish
more
last.
So you want to add
No,
a
just-
5 to it?
Maybe not for flavor. I think more for
finish.
finish.
For
Yeah,
finish.
but I don't. Okay.
I see what you're saying though about you got to go heavy or you don't go heavy.
But see, to me, I, from my personal opinion, I'm not a huge spice person. I don't like the aggressiveness of the spice. I want more of a smooth, relaxed.
I'd take
burn.
that P2 down to
That's
one.
what I was about to say.
I'd make the QV a 2.
I would.
that's what I was about to say.
So, two ways you can kind of gain finish without necessarily gaining heat per se. So, the hot way would be to switch your brightness. Take out a P2 and let one of those bright staves be a spice. Okay, so you may lose some of that brightness on the nose or the front of the tongue, but you'll gain that little pop on the back end. It's one option. The other option would be, well, two more options, would be to either add in a cuvee and add more density to what's there.
Yeah.
So you're getting more richness,
I say cuvee.
you get more length,
Yeah.
That's what it means. It's too like dry. It's hitting.
okay?
I don't think you need to add to the. Okay, and I'm.
Okay, go
I think
ahead.
I'm different.
Go
I
ahead.
don't
No, I
think
wanna
we
hear
need
your
to
opinion.
add to the finish. I like the finish where it is because it's got a strong punch, but it's not overwhelming. And again, we're sitting there thinking about us right now, but I do. You keep mentioning it's his. He's selling this.
Yeah.
So we want to sell this to someone that enjoys a nice finish, a nice spice, but we also want to sell it to people who aren't going to get overwhelmed by it. You know.
Okay.
And knowing for years, the people that drink this, the finish we have right now, and I know this is not the finished product,
Yeah.
but the finish we have right now ain't gonna cut it.
Okay.
It's not
So-
it doesn't linger. It doesn't.
No.
I think at the end of the day, the thing to remember is that this is
No.
what, a $75 bottle? 69. So after taxes, 75 bucks,
Right.
right?
Yeah, and
So if we're gonna put something in, we've got to take something out. So if you just want to try density, right? We get length with density. We can add flavor. There's two ways to do that. If you want to go a little bit drier, toastier tobacco, take this out, put in a 46. If you want to go richness, weight, length, density, you may get some more sweetness out of it. You may get a little bit more heat. Swap that out and put a cuvee.
That's what
That's
what-
If you just want to pop, just a pop, swap out a P2 into a spice.
I say the cuvee.
I say the
Try cuvee, see what happens.
Yeah.
We're all agreeing.
Okay, go ahead.
No. I want you like for your
Yeah.
like for if we're gonna do one, I want you put your one in too.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
I had the 0.3 2 for 1.
So you're
It's pretty
saying,
close.
So that would
so you
be,
want to add a spice, take out a P2. I think that floral note on the top is what's, here's what I don't think you want to do with one of these. You don't want to get so far away from makers that you don't feel like you're selling a maker's bottle.
Yeah.
Agree?
Because you can get so creative. It's like watching a Top Chef show and the guy goes on there and says, hey, I'm going to challenge Bobby Flay, and he tries to be too fancy.
Mhm.
He tries to be too fancy, and Bobby just makes something simple and he blows
Try to
him
fancy
away.
up the burger.
You try to go so far outside of the box that you get away from what people are actually coming there to buy.
Well, and you're right, because why buy a red wax bottle if you're not buying makers.
Exactly. And
So you want to have something that's special, but not too far
I
off.
think this second cuvee is probably the way to go on this next one.
I've never had a good maker that wasn't spicy.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I agree with that too. I'll give you that.
And I think that's the thing we're running from. It's like we're running from because individually we're appeasing our personal palates.
What if
And
we
the
do this?
idea for this is the people who drink makers, the people who drink this, drink it for a certain reason. That certain reason has a combination of certain things. I have never had a good makers that didn't have a spice.
What about if we do this then? What if we, like he said, we add the cuvee,
I know, and
take
I'm not
one of
talking
these
about-
out and add a spice?
Listen, I don't mean the spice as in this. I
mean
mean
just the feeling.
overall. Yeah.
Just the spice.
Yeah, I don't mean
Just the
this. Don't think
feeling.
I'm talking about. I'm not talking about that.
Just the feeling.
So
Yeah.
I think what we created on the first one was had a great overall feel and flavor. But what I feel like what you guys are saying we need more is
Lack
for
of
that
finish.
spice to
Lack of
linger.
finish.
To
Yeah.
hang
A little
out.
bit more of the warming finish, the crescendo finish, where it kind of grows in the
Yeah,
mouth.
you're drinking 108, 110 proof bourbon. You want to know that it's 100.
Not to make it more aggressive, but just to stick around
Yeah.
longer.
Right.
It doesn't have
Yep.
to drink at 120, but I also don't want to drink at 90.
Would you
True,
want the richness,
true.
which she's been saying?
And most importantly, you want to go back and buy a second bottle, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay.
And you
What
know,
about if you add? Okay, so we're looking. See, we said we're looking for more spice, right? Looking for more spice, and we said that we wanted to make the mouthfeel more aggressive, so we swapped out the P2 for the cuvee, which is going to take away some of that floral nose. What if we take one of the minions out and add a French spice?
What are we taking?
I'm just
What
asking.
do we take? And I think this is another thing we're missing. You can speak to this way more than I could. I think we're confusing the fact that just because it says toasted French spice, that it's the thing that's giving the spice. We could add another 46.
Exactly.
And I think that gives more spice. I think it has a better
Yeah, yeah.
flavor than that.
That's what I'm saying. It's not. It doesn't matter. But I think
Take a minion
5
away,
minions is
46.
going to be too.
You think take one minion away, but 46?
that's what I
From number
Okay.
one,
I agree.
I 100% think either
From-
we do the French spice, like commit
Or
to
46.
that,
Or
Yeah.
leave it. Or leave it.
Okay.
One less of those.
so
46.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
Or are you saying on this first one, 2, 1, 3, 4?
I think he's saying add a 46.
With the
Take out a Monday.
Yeah.
With
Yeah,
the
and add a 46.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. I like
Yeah.
that. I like that. I like that. So we go 2, 4.
And look,
Because
we're not certainly limited to 3.
True.
Yeah.
True.
But because if we're looking to stick it in a classic maker's taste, then the base needs to be a
Yeah.
classic.
Heavy.
Yeah.
And we all know that 46 is.
Yeah, I just don't want everybody to feel like the only way we're going to get spice is to put this in that.
True.
That was everybody's least
True.
favorite.
Yeah, I think
And
so
we
too.
don't
I
have to
think
do
that-
it. We can go with it.
My least favorite was the P2 actually.
Really?
I think.
I think that was your favorite. Second.
No.
QB.
Okay, if I had to go,
Me too.
if I had to go with my 3 favorites, it was these 3.
Yeah.
So the 2 outsides are
Mine
my
was the
least
3
favorite.
in the
Yeah.
I think we've come to the determination that the spice needs to just be 0 and P2 to be limited.
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 I
to
agree with
nothing.
that. I agree with that.
So
Because
the 3 in the center are where we need to focus.
just doesn't, to me, I hate to say it, but the floral note just doesn't scream Maker's Mark. Like it doesn't scream, that's what they do a lot. So like some people might like it.
I gave Michael one that I had at home. It was 3, 4. It was 0, 3, 4, 3.
Yeah. Yeah. And we had neither one. We had none of the outsides.
I was thinking when first before we sat down, it was 0, 3, 2, 4.
But I agree with him when he said, you know, that oomph that you're looking for, like he said, that bold maker's flavor. You know, I think that's what we're kind of going for and don't want to lose.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I didn't even think it that way. I thought I'd come in here and create something cool and fun. But you're right. You're not gonna. You guys said it. No one's gonna buy this just because it's got a
sticker
camera
on it.
stations they
Yeah.
want it in the stadium.
Yeah.
They're gonna want to taste some variance of makers, of makers. And if it's not a variance of makers, then they're not gonna want it. They're not gonna. They may buy one bottle,
Yeah.
but they're not gonna tell their
They're not
friends.
gonna buy it
They're not
until
gonna
they
tell their
buy it
friends, say,
again.
"Hey, go
I
get
love
this,"
the
and they're
nose
not
on
gonna
this.
come back.
Yeah. Okay, that nose is better.
That
Yeah,
nose is
yeah.
much
Better.
better.
That is better. That nose is
So we
better.
talked about what that cuvee does from a weight perspective. It kind of rounds things out and gives things body and sweeten things.
Get there.
Well, yeah.
You should see that a little bit more with this one. Plus that cuvette, that 46 gives a little bit of that like dried fruit mid palate to complement that chocolate.
That's a bourbon.
That is
Coats
not
it better,
as dry. That's
That
so
is
much
better.
better.
This one right here, this one just off the nose, because of course I've had a nose where I loved it and drinking it, like, oh, it's horrible. But this nose right here, I'd go back, I would buy another bottle off that. And that's the
I
second.
just think that and I think we all agree, the pure makes the nose too floral, like something like it doesn't scream, hey, this is a maker's bourbon.
And this one, you get a little bit more of that toastiness on the back end. The finish is peppery, but it's like mid front palate peppery. It's really soft. It's dry. It's toasty.
For me, that's it right there. I don't know.
I don't know if it's it.
That's it right
Okay.
there. I could be.
Try that one as a third. Just as
Okay, the one you said 0, 3.
So this
I
one
really
has.
want to try the zero.
I hate to say it, but we
Do
gotta
you
let
want
him
to
pick his.
do 3,
Yeah, we gotta let
2,
him
or
pick.
2, 3, 4?
3, 2, 4, 1.
I like that
That's
one.
just light years better than the first one. That's just.
Oh yeah.
That one
That's
right there,
way
Marcus,
better.
it added a little bit more pepper to it, but didn't make
And you
me-
got that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't normally like that, but that one was good.
And I just think if we're gonna use a base, it's anything, use 46 as our
46.
base.
And like you said, we've got 3 of those, so we still had the other 7 to play with. We kind of got the balance with the chocolate and the tobacco and those undertones, but it wasn't so. Because I think what we talked about, my fear with number 1 was like it was just going to be too floral forward, and it was going to people be like, okay, hey, this isn't what I'm expecting. And like you said, they'll buy 1, but they won't buy 2.
It was just lackluster on the finish for me. Like, there was
The
nothing.
number 1, yeah, which is fine. The 2 P2s make a short finish. That's
I
what
like
they
the
do.
mouth coat, the secondary coats,
Yep.
everything.
So we kind of talked about it earlier, right? Number 2, we've got a really good balance. We've got sweetness, we've got chocolate, we've got molasses, we've got a soft pepper finish. In light of adding a spice, just to see what it does, try his profile, where you're getting more of this texture in the cuvee to round it out. Your 46 and your Mondial are still kind of your anchors of flavor, but then having that one spice to give it some heat. Now, what it also does with this, remember that yeast note we had? That like toasted orange peel note?
Yeah. That's gonna bring it out.
That will bring it out just a hint. Won't dominate it, but you will notice that it's there on the finish. So try it. And look,
2 is definitely better than 1.
what may end up happening, and this is cool if we have to do it, if we say, okay, this is really good, but it's somewhere between 1 and 2, the natural middle would be to either do 2 things. Take out this P2 on number 2 and put in the spice there, or to go here and put in the third 46. That's kind of the middle.
Okay, so let's try 3.
Okay, let's try number 3. Instead of letting our P2 be our brightness here, we take that P2 out and we let that spice be the brightness. So you get your more density with 2 cuvées, not going too heavy. You have that mid palate and tobacco and dark fruit and sweetness with 46, but your Mondial is still your anchor of your baker's chocolate, your cocoa with that long spice finish.
Okay.
So we're adding spice we're adding finish that we wanted to do on number 1. Okay, we're adding more density to what we had with number 2. We're getting the texture that we had in number 3 with all the balance in number 2.
What was
So it would be 0, 2, 3, 4, 1. So it would be the opposite of that.
Yeah.
And you may not like it.
This turned backwards. Yeah.
You may not like it. That's okay.
I think this is good. Okay, I like it because 1, I feel like we should use every one of them. And I'm going against what we've already agreed on. It's like the SP.
Yeah.
1 or none.
I'm
Or all or none.
on the peak. To me, it's very dominant, and I don't. It doesn't
Which one?
scream.
I don't like
makers to
the
me.
P2. Like,
I don't either.
I think the P2 is there primarily. For,
Yeah, but I don't-
I think it's great for the nose. I don't see it as being something that we have to have.
But you ask yourself, this is 46. This is something on the shelf people buy. Could you get any of the P2 nose out of a 46? I say no.
There's no fluid.
But it's also hard to get 46 nose on P2, and it's the same thing.
But they're not selling P2.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's like I shouldn't be able to if it's just
what I guess what I'm saying is 46 is a
To
known
cover-
entity.
to cover
It
for
is
that.
sold. People are buying it. It is a regular seller. This is not. So therefore, I'm gonna lean more towards this than this when I'm talking about, am I gonna add something to it? Like, I think I'm thinking the consensus is this is probably doing more for the nose, but very little good things on the palate. So we could.
I don't care about this.
Right, because
You want something that tastes good.
Right, think about it. We know bourbon because we've been drinking it forever.
Yeah.
An average person, they're gonna pour it, they're gonna drink it. So the palate is gonna have to win.
Yeah, because someone who's going to buy this and just drink it, most people are going to say,
Well, the nose
You can't open the bottle and nose it and buy it. So it's true.
That is true.
It's true.
But when you
But we
smell
want
it,
to come
it
back and
does
buy
take
another
your
one.
senses
What's your
into
favorite?
Look, I'll tell you this, and this is kind of my rule of thumb. If you pick something you're passionate about, whether you work in the store or not, nobody's going to sell better than you are. So from your perspective, if you love this, you're going to sell it to your staff, you're going to sell it to customers, which is the ultimate hand sell. Likewise, you guys have friends, you guys buy from the store, like, we picked this, we loved it, you gotta go get it.
I feel like this has been a good walkthrough.
Something.
You walk in here with a concept and then you're able to like build it out.
Exactly.
It feels like, hey, we got a project at work and this is what we're trying to accomplish. And then we're taking all the inputs and trying to build this out, because I feel like we have a big complement of what is the average buyer? What is the average buyer? You're gonna have an experienced buyer, a novice buyer, we got female, we have somebody that's in the industry, you got a lot of compliments here.
And can you be somebody that's never had one before?
True. Or somebody that's never had one before.
I think you just named the bottle.
I don't
Unless you're
think
going to call it
Maker's Mark is
Fermentation.
not somebody that is beginning to start with, I would think.
I mean, Makers is probably.
Makers is more of a, gotta acquire it.
The 90 proof Makers is a good.
No, nose went backwards.
Yeah, I smell Play-Doh.
I don't.
Yeah, nose went backwards.
It's definitely richer on those, like darker.
Thank you, yes.
Which girl you giving a second date to? That's the question.
Yeah.
This one goes back to
Did
this.
you just say this is a girl you called in the night when you haven't met nobody?
Yeah.
So we don't
No. When I say girl, you call, I did not mean it like that. I did not mean it like that. I was like, when you leave, you might meet a lot of people, but this is the one you call.
Oh, I got you.
Two is the one you call.
Oh, I got you.
Look,
So
he's
you met,
like, he just has to have somebody.
I thought you meant, so you mean,
Thanks, honey.
you met 4 or 5 ladies, and this is the one you're calling.
Yes.
I thought I heard you met nobody.
So
and
I'm gonna
I'm gonna call back home live.
An experienced bourbon drinker is not common.
Yeah,
We have the misconception that
there's a lot of people
everybody, I think we have perception and perspective, and we give our opinions based on our perspective. And whether you're a novice, whether you're a run-of-the-mill guy or advanced, you have to think, I have to try to sell this to the person that knows the least about bourbon. So it just needs to taste good.
And the thing that people make a lot of mistake of is people's like, oh, he drinks a lot of bourbon, so he knows bourbon. Sometimes you drink a lot of bourbon because you're drunk.
Because you're drunk. You don't necessarily know
Finally, if somebody has
I agree.
It doesn't mean that you know bourbon.
I don't drink anything else. Like most people drink rum, they drink vodka, I don't drink anything else. I drink
Drinking
bourbon.
and tasting are different.
Exactly. See, that's the thing I'm saying about this. We tasted 4 different complexities of it. There's only one that everybody said was good.
Well,
and then you got to think, in the world of bourbon, there are very few bourbons you're going to get that everybody in one place says is good.
Can I throw a wrench in all this?
Go ahead.
4, I think is the best bourbon for someone that doesn't know what they're doing.
No.
I agree.
How many people that don't know what they're doing are going to buy Maker's private barrels?
Correct. None.
None.
Unless we tell them to.
Yeah.
So it would take someone walking in the store
huge
and
market.
that employee saying, "Hey, you want a good
Pour it
bourbon? Yeah. You want a good bourbon? You want to try something? This is it right here." But a lot of people, 50% of people walking in the store know what they're looking for.
1 in 4.
So
is
I
that what you're
think
saying, or 1 in 3?
I think 2 and 4 are the
I
best
think
choices, and I think for
and
that are going to hit the best, cover the market the best. I think 2 is
4.
it.
And 4, I will say, 4 the nose is absent.
Yeah.
But I have to ask yourself, if somebody walks in a store and you say, "Hey man, I got free tastings," are they gonna nose the bourbon?
No, not in a plastic
They're gonna
cup.
taste it. They're gonna taste it.
But 4 doesn't. It's more like this. I love this smell, and I want to drink this smell. But the taste is not. It's more
Have you
watered
gone back
down.
and smelled 2 since it opened up?
2. Two
Even if your
smells
glass is
awesome.
empty, the peat.
Go
the
back
number
to
two,
two
the
smell.
number 2 glass.
Go back to it and smell it.
I think we've had to sell 1, 3, and 4. You know the one we hadn't had to sell? 2.
3 smells good too.
Okay, sent to each other. I think with 2, I think we were like, hey, I think this is a good thing. And I think with 3 and 4, we're trying to say, hey, it's got this, or hey, it's got that. We've tried to sell 3 and 4. I think 2 sold itself.
I told you from the first sip.
2's got too much
2.
heat.
2.
My mind hadn't changed.
2?
You're going to 2.
Is there
we're going with the majority. We're not going with what I say. We're going with the majority.
Well, I don't think she likes to.
I do like tea too. I just think there's something that you can tweak about it to make it better.
So let me ask you
I
this.
can't get it.
To that point, what's the one thing that it needs? And what are you going to sacrifice to get it? If we were to do one more to top 2, and we may not, if we were to do one more, what's the one thing that it needs? And what are you going to sacrifice to get it?
Okay, everybody taste your 2.
2 and 4 next to each other.
4 is just very watered down.
So I think what you're looking for, what
I like
she's
that
talking,
punch.
is you're looking for something that is in between 2 and 4. 4 is not aggressive enough. 2 may be a little too aggressive. You want to find something in between, a good happy medium between 2 and 4.
If there's only one state that's different, it's a P2 or a spice.
Yeah, that's all I was gonna say.
So we got 2 QB. So I mean,
So-
what could calm that down just a hair? What could calm this down but not go that calm?
Because like the only difference in this is a spice and a P2.
Yeah.
So like you would have to literally replace another stave with P2 or spice to make your argument.
What would happen if we took the Mondial out and put a 46 in?
Lighter.
It'd be lighter.
I would almost.
What would if you take out a 46?
I would almost take this out and put your spice in there.
The 46?
Put an SP in
I
there?
wanted to know that too.
I
Take
think
out a
that
46.
because again, we talked about earlier that 46 has those spice notes to it.
I have that. I've driven the car.
Yep.
I'm telling you, it's the closest we're gonna get to the perfect makers, as I've had. Now, that's not your palate. That's not yours. I'm talking about mine. That is the closest I'm gonna get to the best one I've had.
Yeah, I mean.
I guess here's my opinion is that the 2 that I think for me what's been the differentiating note has been the nose. When you open up a bourbon, I always say this. Most people, some people do, but when I watch the average individual, they don't nose their bourbon. They just drink it.
Listen, it's maple crazy.
Now it is.
2, try it right there.
2, it opened up.
Well, you know that you're 100%
To me, that's
right.
the
Average
only.
person is not going
That's
to
to
know.
me, that's the middle.
Oh man.
I'm not disagreeing that 2 is where we're at. I'm just wondering if we could find a happy medium between 2 and 4.
Well, the second round it opened up more. It was a really good time.
That's the girl.
Hey, remember earlier when I said 1, 2, 2, 5, 1? Was that one that you wrote down?
Yeah.
That's the happy medium between the 2.
That's what I think we need to go for.
This
I
1,
think
2,
take
2.
out a 46.
1, 2, 2, 1, 5, 1. Second
Take out a
pair.
46.
What do you
This one's opened
May
up.
I? Yes.
Like, the second time come back.
I'm not changing. I'm not,
Blow this car up if you want to. We
We're
can
not
try it.
changing. We're going to try it.
Okay,
We're going to take
I'm
out
taking.
a 46.
It's gonna be hard pressed to get me to get off of 2.
Especially,
Now, too.
especially,
Which is
especially if you're taking
good.
away a
That means it's
46,
gonna
because
be
46 is
two
probably my
already.
favorite.
Giving the body.
46 is my favorite.
Since
Me too.
since I revisited though too, this 2 is better than it was originally.
The nose is better on 2 now that it's got some oxygen to it.
Yeah.
But like I said, I do this with bourbon all the time. I take a bourbon, I pour it, and I literally let it sit overnight, and I come back to it the next
Overnight?
day. Because I want it to oxidize.
Oh yeah, he puts a
and
napkin
then
over it. And
I
comes
put a
out.
napkin over it, and I come back to it the next
I did
day.
that with 22 George T Stack this weekend.
Yeah. I mean, because you need to see what oxygen does to the bourbon. And a lot of people will write off like a neck pour. They'll say, "Oh man, this bottle sucks. I had my neck poured." I was like, put a glass on it.
If I leave a bourbon overnight, it's because I got drunk when I sleep.
And then you come back to it. That oxidation in the bourbon changes everything. Like when we took these off the glass, if we had drank them when they had the covers on them, they would have been completely different. So it was enlightening to me to see what oxygen did to a bourbon, and it really makes a tremendous difference. It opens up bottles that I thought were bad were now okay. Bottles that I thought were good were now great. Because the average person, when you sit down and drink bourbon, the average person doesn't sit down and shoot it. They drink it, they go do something else. They go, they come back to it, they get another drink. So by the time you get to the end of it, maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours, you might be smoking a cigar. Like there's all different types. Right. And that, for me, I'm huge on makers, and the one that stood out to me the most, and like I said, was the Mocha Stage. They just had that underlying complimentary tone that has just made it good, and I feel like
Number
2 was the closest thing that we've gotten to that. And I think that, like he said, you have to think about the average person coming in to buy the bottle. You have to think about the average guy, the average Joe is coming in and says, why am I spending $69.99 when I can spend $35 or $40 on a regular 46 bottle?
It's not even just that, but like me, I love Kentucky Spirit. She loves Rare Breed.
Okay.
Why do I need to walk in this store and buy this Maker's Mark store pick at $69 when I know I'm going to like that Kentucky Spirit at $50?
And you got to think though, sometimes it's, just for me, I mean, I probably own 300-400 bottles, you know. So for me, my palate gonna be different than the average guy that's coming in looking to grab something on Friday night.
Still like number 3 smell.
For him, he has to think,
Did you
man,
smell
I'm trying to sell this to the average Joe.
Smells good.
I'm trying to sell this to the high-end guy. And I think,
oh yeah,
for me, if I look at all of them, 2 has been the most.
So I just poured number 5.
Okay.
It's the middle of 2 and 4. So we did 1 P2, 2 Cubes, 2 46s, 4 Mondials and a spice. Now keep in mind, I just poured it. So if you're comparing it to number 2, that oxidation, it's not a fair fight.
Okay.
Because that P2's in it, it will eventually smell like maple syrup, just like 2. Focus on the taste, the texture, the feel.
3 smells the best to me.
I did like
3
Yeah,
smells
but
good.
3 has also sat out for 20 minutes. So
But it smells more than 2. Put 2 and 3 together. Oh, where's your 2?
I just took it off and sniffed it. I just took it off and sniffed it.
2 still. 2 still in for me.
I've had a hard time. I guess what I've done is I've made 2 the baseline.
Yeah.
Something's got to beat it. And I have had something that's come close. I've had something that's kind of, but I haven't said, hey man, this beats 2.
Yeah, because 4 came close, but it wasn't.
4 was close.
I disagree with that.
Gross.
You didn't think 4 was good?
I think 4 had the worst finish that.
I agree with him.
Not the worst taste though.
Beer palate was great.
And that's what people gonna taste.
No. They're gonna take it in because on the beginning, on the front tongue, it's not very good. When you let it sit for a second, it gets great. Finish is short and dry.
2. That's what you're saying about 2?
About 4s.
Okay.
Like I said, if I've never had Makers and I go to the liquor store and like it says 2 is the one that's there now, that's good.
I mean, you're the one selling it.
I think 2.
2's just very dry.
Actually, we're the one.
It's gonna be a weed. Cause you know what I'm saying? We just working out a lot of times.
I'm not gonna come up here with you and not help you get rid of this.
No.
So we're all switching out on our shifts.
My name
at
tied to this
your
too,
work.
so.
We're all switching out who's selling. Go to your store and start selling.
Yeah, everybody just take a day over the week.
Yeah,
We all
I'm all in.
Everybody take
I'm all
a
in.
5. From 5, I'm not going to spend the night.
I haven't tasted it yet.
When it comes this way, 5, I'm not spending the night. 4, you're still getting another chance. 2, I'm definitely showing back up next day.
I don't want the floor. It's not.
I think Nate sold.
I think there's.
But here, like I was saying, so Marcus, I'm not spending the night at her house. I'm gonna take her house.
Listen, we can't talk about women. I'm a married man. Like, let's talk about this in other terms.
Oh, this is I think this is for reference sake.
For reference sake.
But I'm with you. I'm with you.
That's really sweet. So
I'm taking 2 to the prom.
Yeah.
5's a girl I'm probably gonna tell, hey man, I already got a date. And 4 is the girl that I'm gonna say, hey look, I'll see you there, but I can't promise. You know what I mean?
She gets the restaurant with the real napkins.
Yeah. Like 2 is like, hey man, we're going together.
Yeah.
4 is like, if I see you there and you know something happens with 2, then you know maybe we can dance.
See,
And
this
5,
is a
hey,
recording.
If this is the recording, this is when you say, like, this is the point where they've had too much.
This is when they have them all in bed with them.
So 5 is decent, but it's not worth considering. I
think 5 is very
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I think 5.
2. I'm with 2.
Yeah.
I am. Sorry.
Something's
What would you
missing
do?
about 2, but
Well,
2 is
okay, if
overall.
you had to pick a favorite, what would it
I've got to go with 2.
be? Okay.
3, the nose on 3.
3's nose is better.
It's so
2
great.
overall, the whole thing is better.
I want to drink what I smell out of this. This
In
is
that mocha.
Yeah, that's what I was
She's still stuck in that mocha.
I
told you.
am, but I don't like the taste of it. I love that smell, and I want to drink that smell.
That roasted, toasted.
I gotta get that
I'll
somehow.
have to give you a mocha stave.
So I can
Yeah, I
chew
still
it.
got a few. I still got a couple at home. I still got 2 of the other mochas that I've still got out of the mini bottles of.
Well,
I still say it's the best bottle.
Okay, now it's time to shoot, right?
I think you'd be hard pressed to beat.
so what we picking, Nate?
2.
2 it is.
2 it be. So
Now I
we-
want to taste your orange cream.
So we've chosen 2. 2 is 1 P2, 2 Cuvées, 3 46s, and 4 Mondials. All right.
I think that's.
What's the name, Nate?
Yeah.
So here's the thing
Oh,
with the
you
name.
get
You're
it,
going to be on our new bottle package. You get 2 lines, 23 characters on each line, including spaces. No all caps.
This is the thing you got to think about. Half of the people who are gonna walk into a shop, I ain't looking for complicated and cute and educational.
Well,
I need to know what I'm
catchy and snappy. I'm looking for something that got my attention. Don't do it where you're trying to make it overcomplicated. You got to realize the people that we're trying to appeal to are people who are drinking alcohol.
They don't
We're not
want to
trying-
think
We're
about
not trying to appeal to somebody going to a science class.
And like you said, and it's also got to be somebody that's going to spend $70 on a bottle.
I do like the way he came with the name Smoke Jacket. That's kind of catchy.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Smoke jacket.
Beaten biscuit was great.
Beat me. Oh, beat biscuit was also great. Off your rocker was stupid.
Yeah, that was
sip a while.
Sip a while.
Was
Off
great.
the rocker, I like that.
Yeah.
But
Where do you
can't
guys come up
you
with
can't
all this?
take
It's
names.
Those are
really
bookers. Those are bookers. Names.
Really?
You
Yeah.
can't take names from other folks.
Okay, so it's 4:30.
You're
He's
like,
like,
get the hell
time to go
Well,
home.
if you guys want to hit the gift shop before we go,
Okay.
they close down at 5, or they go home at 5. So,
Oh yeah, there's.
Yeah, we gotta get the.
and I mentioned earlier, if one of you all heard me, you guys have the option to buy a cellar age bottle if you want
We
to.
would like that.
That's right. I
So let me get all this filled out.
didn't know
Nate
that.
need
I
to make
didn't
a
know that was
decision
part
on his
of it.
name.
Huh?
He needs to make a decision.
Yeah, I'm gonna let him do that. Let
Yeah,
him
he
have
needs
that.
to. He needs to do something. He
Does
feels
he
like
have to name
sit
it
mark
today?
himself.
We would strongly prefer you name it today.
Yeah.
Well, I think he's on the phone right now. I think he's trying to get that done.
Good thing I'm not picking a name because I sit here and think about it and pick something crappy, and then next week I'm like, oh, I wish I'd have named it this.
Well, that was fun.
It was good though, because I feel like we had a real honest conversation about what the, different, I'm big on comparing different nuances.
All right, everyone, that's it. That's over. We picked our barrel, and I hope you enjoyed the process. This is the exit out to the guest area. You get to see this on a normal tour, so it's really nice, beautiful artwork, and it's one of the 2 in the whole United States, I think he said. So I hope you enjoyed what we did. Hope you get an opportunity to try it. I hope it doesn't suck. So like, subscribe, comment, share, hit the bell, become a member, join, follow Homer and Amy on all the social medias. I'll put that on here so you guys can see it. And we appreciate you all watching, and comment below and tell us what you think about the experience we just had.
Can't get all of you at the same time. What?
Yes, not sideways. On sideways.
Don't screw it up.
I want a lot of wax.
Alright, I'm going to look at those bottles so I can show you how to do it. Just like this in your dominant hand. Dip it down to the bottom, bring it up to the side, spin, 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 put it down, you got it.
I want artwork.
Alright, spin, spin, spin.
Spin, spin fast.
fix the artwork. That's just boring.
There's the artwork.
Time to make a dunker.
Alright, you come with the spot on 5 minutes, alright?
Alright, thank you. Hey, I think I made a dunker. I didn't follow the rules.
Those wax spots aren't very deep, so you can't get them.
No. Because when she did it last time, she was like, what? Yeah, because people would jam it way down in there.
All right, y'all, this is it, I promise. Here's the certificate for our barrel we chose, and here's a picture of the barrel where we all signed. And I want to say thank you again to Nate Roberts for inviting us to go on to this trip. Such an amazing experience, and I hope we get a chance to do it again. So thank you, Nate. Lastly, this video is almost 2.5 hours long, so if there's any mistakes in here that I missed out, I apologize. I'm not going back and watching this anymore to make sure it's right. Sorry, guys. And all of you guys, remember, like, subscribe, comment, share, hit the bell. We appreciate you all watching. Thanks for being Deck Night followers, and we appreciate you all for all your comments and participation. See you next time. Keep sipping.